Yes.
A light word, please. Thank you.
Dream. Yes.
Okay. Dream. Dream is for sleepers now. Okay. My ancestors taught me to dream, but each time I sleep, I see your face.
Ah,
I don't know.
Whose face are you seeing?
No face.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else?
set her up.
Hmm. Kind. Hope.
Hope.
Okay, I define her.
Every day I wake up, I am reminded that people find reasons to not believe. And every day I look around me, I find hope because people choose to.
Mm,
Oh,
mm, mm.
Thank you. And thank you for indulging me. Uh, so today we also have a packed day. We have a number of panels. Our first also panel, by the way, for this festival. And then we'll have a chat with our headliner, a panel on healing, one on safe spaces, and and so on and so forth. We will also have a book chat, and the Enya will join us much later. But before all that, I would like to read Rubab Short by Abubakar Siddiq. Um, while buildings topple at the center of the city. On a radio show, a woman calls in to report a missing daughter, left home for school at 7, last seen on a school bus. 14, light-skinned, hair covered in hijab, skirt large enough to fit two girls her size, has memorized the Quran, fluent in Hausa and Pidgin and Arabic and English, speaks like her lineage lives on her tongue, smells of seawater. In the city center, more buildings are falling. Firefighters continue to pull casualties through thick smoke. Elsewhere, a family is stopped for security check at the Chad border. The father squeezes Naira notes into the palm of the custom officer. In the back seat, his wife mutters verses from the Quran. From the rearview mirror, he sees her face, wet with tears. In the news, they say more buildings might fall and all residents should evacuate the center of the city. I watch a woman open her mouth to say a dua. Her voice, a string of white noise echoing the rumblings of her fear. Someplace, students at a madrasa spread prayer rugs on a field, facing the Qibla. Their eyes fall on roofs brought down by stormwater, gunfire, and God's silence. So that's Robert Shots by Abubakar. Also one of the students of our Spiritual at Center before he left us for the US, right? It's in the US. So, yeah, very brilliant poet. I think
Wait.
we should start our day, right? We should. So where am I going to? Please get so we can set up. We can set up. But before, while they set up, anyone wants to share any moments that they were particularly glad to witness yesterday? One already in the military, please.
Where to sit down? My name is Yahuza Rabi Gabra from the Institute. I'm the chairman of Yobe Literary Society. What amazed me yesterday, a complete panel led by women and women discussing problems of women. At the end, ends the problem of the whole society. So This is something new, especially in this setting. Women discussing the whole problem of the society and channeling the solutions that will make sure the whole society is safe for women and men too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I also enjoyed that whole meeting. It was really amazing. And kudos to Hassana and everyone on that panel. Anyone else has a moment from yesterday that really stood out for them?
Also, it is a military. I think it goes without saying it was the country song for me. The energy, the excitement, all of it was. It filled up the room. It was exciting. It was exhilarating. I enjoyed listening to good poetry. I think that we have such talented poets and Kano, and it was such a pleasure witnessing it.
All right, anyone else? One last person. Anyone from this side? Okay.
Oh, that's great. Sneaky loss.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdul Jabbar Abdul Salam. I am a climate change reporter. The panel that I was very excited was the panel that was led by Misbahu El Hamza, that champions Ismail Hamza from New York Times, and the other sister from Human and World. Honestly, it was a panel that made my day because being here as somebody from non-poetic background, thank you.
Kana ka kana aiki ne sai sai ne.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that we're able to curate because one of the visions for this while we're curating the activities was to ensure that everyone went home with something. It didn't matter that they were artists or non-artists. Although I believe everyone is actually an artist in some way or form. So let's start what we have come here to start. I remember when I was still a journalist, when I first heard that someone woke up, wrote a praise song for a terrorist, and I called them terrorists intentionally. I was gobsmacked. I was like, what is going on? What sane human being would write a song for a terrorist? But it appears, what's that saying? Many are mad, few are roaming, or something like that. But of course, this is not to call anyone mad if they don't declare that they are. So this morning, our first panel is in Hausa, but don't worry, I'll translate. I'll try. I'm just joking. But it's a panel that sits with and interrogates why songs are made for insurgents and how artists can resist or combat this. The first panelist is Dr. Jalaluddin Ibrahim. Please put your hands together for him. He's a lecturer with the Department of European Languages, Federal University, Birnin KB. He's the pioneer coordinator of KB Hilltop Creative Arts Foundation, the author of Beyond the Setting Sun and Trance. He co-edited Echoes of Carnage. His poems, reviews, essays, book chapters, and short stories can be found in Gelada Africa, The Skies Are Earth, an anthology of 50 young Nigerian poets, Telling Our Stories, an anthology of new Nigerian short stories, Daily Trust, The Sun, Blueprint, Parisha Blog, Practice Magazine, All Africa, and other local and international publications. He's a bilingual writer and an educator from Zamfara. Please put your hands together. Thank you for coming. The second person on this panel is Suleiman Osman Yusuf. Please put your hands together. He's a distinguished management, governance, and security consultant with a multifaceted career spanning project design, security, conflict resolution, strategic communication, preventing and countering violent extremism, stroke terrorism. He has an academic foundation in sociology and a master's degree in peace, conflict, and strategic studies, and a doctorate in political science. Please put your hands together and thank you for coming. The third person on this panel is Abdulaziz Abdulaziz. Please put your hands together. He is a versatile journalist and creative writer with nearly 20 years of experience in journalism, spanning print, online, and television. He has reported for news platforms such as Leadership, Blueprint, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, Premium Times, and Trust TV. He is the first journalist to enter into the strongholds of bandits, meeting some of the key actors at the center of the crisis. His documentary, Nigerian Banditry, The Inside Story, was described as an eye-opener on banditry in northern Nigeria. He was the overall winner of the Wale Soyinka Award for investigative reporting and won the TV category of the award in 2022. He is at present a member of the Presidential Communications Team and in his capacity as Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you for coming. And to moderate this panel is our father, Professor Ibrahim Malumfashi. He's a distinguished scholar in Hausa Literary Studies who was born in Malumfashi, Katsina State, Nigeria. He earned his PhD in Hausa Studies in 1999. Wow. And is currently a researcher at Kaduna State University with nearly 25 years of experience as a lecturer and assistant translator at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He has made significant contributions to the study and translation of Hausa literature. Thank you so much for coming, sir. So I'll now hand over to the moderator and let's enjoy.
Jama'a assalamu alaikum. Wannan shine karo na farko da za a fara magana da Hausa a nan. Tunda muka zo ana ta magana ne da harshen Ingilishi. Wannan kuma da shine kadai ma ainihin wurin tattaunawa da za a magana da Hausa. Sannan kuma abin za mu tattauna kuma da jinki da Hausar ne za mu iya mashi adalci. Muna tare da masana, manyan masu nazari, masu hulɗa da abin da ya shafi harkokin tsaro. Daga nan hannun dama na dai kamar yadda ita Nana ta yi magana, akwai Abdulaziz wanda ba sai ta sake maimaitawa ba. Akwai Suleiman Usman Yusuf, sannan akwai Jalaluddin Marado. Abin da za mu yi ƙoƙarin tattaɓawa shine mu ga menene muke ganin game da alƙalami abin rubutu ko kuma tsara waka ko tsara labari ko tsara aikin adabi zai iya yi wajen kawo sauki ga irin matsalolin da suke wakana a cikin ƙasa, musamman abin da ya shafi ta'addanci da kuma rikice-rikice da tashin-tashina a cikin al'ummar wannan yanki da muke ciki. An ce alƙalami ya fi takobi, to mu sani ba wannan gaskiya ne ko dai kawai bayani ne ake domin a ji daɗi a cikin rai, amma yau za mu tattauna wannan mu ga me zai iya faruwa. Za mu fara ainihin tattaunawa ne tare da sauraron wata waka wadda ita ce ta jawo irin wannan tunanin. Idan DJ ya shirya da Allah ya saka mana wannan waka gobe.
Zaki mai kashi guda, zaki waka da ka, suna Hadiza karkake, da wajen abin na tu, iya farin matasa ɗan yara na hitowa muke gwanin maza 070-6792-65 a da bayu ne dauke da waka ga kalla turki wanda sake bulaki sai kura dauki na kawo a sha sauraro lafiya Yoga bazar da maza turki tashi ci maza Jiwa ke kashe malaki Bazan jiran maza turki kamuwa ya gaba Muji banin maza Yoga bazar da maza turki tashi ci maza Wadare jiwa ke kashe malaki Bazan jiran maza turki kamuwa ya gaba
Masha Allah, na san ga waɗanda ba su ma saurari wannan waƙar ba ko su bar jinta ba za su yi mamaki su ce ya za a ce a Najeriya a cikin irin wannan yanayi da ake ciki a cikin irin wannan hayaniya da kashe-kashe da ake ciki sannan babu sunan da kila ya yi tashe ya shahara irin Kacalla Bello Turji sannan a samu wani ko wasu da za su zauna su tsara waka su biya kuɗi a je cikin studio a ɗauka a sake ta a cikin dukkan duniyar intanet sai ka ga abu ne kila wanda ba za ka yi ɗauka shi to shi harka ta adabi wannan shi ne ainihin sirrin da ke da ita mu a matsayinmu na waɗanda suke nazari abin da za mu kokari ne shine me ya jawo da hau wani zai zauna ya kirkiri waƙa kan wannan shahararren ɗan tata har a je a tsara ta a yi ta hau ne ya biya kuɗi ya ɗauki nauyinta saboda al'umma ko za su ce aiki ne da adabi ko muna son mu kalli abin kuma a da za su ce a ilimance shin menene mai aikin adabi wanda harkar shi ya tsara waka ko ya rubuta labari ko ya wasan kwaikwayo domin gina al'umma zai iya yi ya ga cewa ya mai da martani a kan waɗannan abubuwa wannan shi ne tunanin da ya jawo wannan zaman da zamu insha Allah kamar yadda nace muna da ainihin masana masu nazari waɗanda ma sun yi hannu da Bello Turji sun san shi ya san su muna son mu ji ne zan fara da Lazid Al-Aziz wanda kamar yadda ake bayani ya shiga cikin waɗannan dazuzzuka ya tattauna da waɗannan 'yan ta'adda ya yi hira da su ya ji bayanansu ya ga wasu abubuwa kila ma da mu da ke nan ba mu gani ba sannan kuma masanin harkar adabi ne musamman abin da ya shafi waƙoƙin ta'addanci waƙoƙin kokowa waƙoƙin dambe waƙoƙin barayi da makamantansu kenan ya riga ya san wannan fage kayan ma ya shige shi baki daya abin da nake so mu hara mana da shi ne shin kai da ka ji wannan waƙa me ya zo muka cike da kana ganin abin da ya dace a ce an yi ne ko kawai dai nema ake a nuna cewa shi ma turjin ai kamar kowane irin jarumi haka yake a cikin al'umma.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Barka da safiya da wuce ko hantsi. Ina farin cikin kasancewa a wannan wuri kuma kamar yadda malam ta faɗa wannan maudu'i ne mai matuƙar muhimmanci kuma wanda zai haska mana abubuwa da dama. Na farko dai ni a matsayina na mai nazari farko kuma ɗalibin adabi ɓangare biyu na farko a ɓangaren sha'awa na biyu kuma a ɓangaren karatu domin duka digiri na guda biyu da na yi a ɓangaren adabi ne da turanci ne so amma adabi kusan ko a wani yare ne adabi din na farko zan ce wannan waƙa kusan ni a matsayina wanda kamar da na fara wannan wato bayani a kaina ba wai ta zo ba abin mamaki ba ce domin zan ce kamar kasu zurmi ne na zamani ga waɗanda ba su san waye kasu zurmi ba shahararren makaɗi ne na maza da aka yi a yankin ƙasar Zamfara wadda kusan yanzu ita ce cibiyar wannan matsala ta tsaro wadda kuma ga duk wanda yake bibiyar al'amura ya san kuma yake da sanya kan tarihin wannan yanki ya san cewa yanki ne wanda shekara da shekaru tsawon shekaru kusan ɗaruruwa ba za a ce ba za a ce Bombay ba, yanki ne da ya yi shuhura wajen harkokin ko kuma in ce tara waɗanda za a iya kira ɓata gari ta ɓangarori daban-daban, barayi ko kuma maza 'yan farauta, mafarauta, jarumai, 'yan tauri da sauran mutane iri-iri har ma kuma kamar wasannin dambe da sauransu, za a ga cewa nan ne cibiyar irin waɗannan abubuwa. So shi wannan makaɗi da yake mutumin Kaduna ne, shi Adamu Ayuba wanda aka saka waƙar shi yanzu da amuran Jos yake ban san yanzu ko ina yake ba shi kadai bane ba shi a yanzu, kuma kamar da nace ba shi bane ba su suka fara wannan abun ba. A yanzu a ƙididdiga kusan akwai makaɗa ko kuma mawaƙa irin waɗannan ko masu amfani da abubuwan gargajiya ko kuma kamar shi wannan da ya amfani da piano na zamani, kusan mutum aƙalla 10 waɗanda suka yi wa irin waɗannan ɓata gari 'yan bindiga aƙalla mutum kusan 40 daban-daban waƙoƙi iri-iri. Kuma a wani mataki zan iya cewa tana nuna cewa dukkan mu mutane ne. So akwai wannan ɓangaren na cewa a matsayin mutum ɗan adam mai iyali, mai jama'a, mai son ya burge, mai son a san shi, mai son a yabe shi, duk yana cikin abin da ya sa wannan adabin ya samu kuma yake wanzuwa a yanzu haka. Domin su waɗannan 'yan bindiga su ma kamar yadda idan an saurari wannan waƙar za a ji su ma mutane ne, ya faɗi iyalansa, abokanan shi, yaransa da sauransu, matansa guda 3, Halima, Sadiya, Aisha, Halima, Aisha da Aitin Hadiza. Sadiya ita ce Halima da Sadiya da Aisha da Hadiza, matan mutum guda 3 ya faɗi su a ciki, ya faɗi wasu 'ya'yan shi, ya faɗi abin da nace abokan mu'amala. So duk wannan idan ga wanda ya koma ina so in ɗauke mu kaɗan baya a tarihi, za mu ga cewa kamar yadda na ce kusan kasu sulmi ne na zamani. Ni farkon da na je Zamfara, wannan shiya ɗin da za a iya cewa ƙasar su gwamna ƙasar suka su sulmi, ƙasar su manyan barayi na da yanzu da kuma makaɗan. Tun da yawanci makaɗan su ma of course dama yawanci irin wannan abu yana tsoruwa ne a inda yake, kamar da a ce Kano ai yawanci yan wasan ta 'yan Kano ne da sauransu ko kuma mazauna Kano. So su ma wayannan makaɗan yawancin su 'yan wannan yanki ne na Dumburin, na Ajja, na Maniya, nan dai wannan shiyar wadda in da wanda yake sauraron ka su kuma ya duba ya nazarin waƙoƙinsa zai ga cewa ya faɗi ya yi taswirar wani a waƙoƙinsa ba ɗaya ba biyu. Misali in ka duba waƙar Bawa Saimami wani ɗan tauri, ya yi faɗi wannan gulbin nan na wanda daɗin irin wannan abin da yake na taswira zai iya zauke wanzu har yanzu. To tun a wancan lokacin ya yi maganar gulbin wato na bunsurin nan wanda ya taso tun daga wajen rijiya, yawa tun daga ya tangaro tun daga ya danganta da inda ka fara, tun daga Katsina ya tafi har Sokoto, ko kuma daga Sokoto za ka actually daga Katsina tun da gangarawa yake ya tafi daga wajen yankin Malumfashi, wajen yankin Dutsen ma ya shiga kasar wajen birnin Magaji, ya shiga wajen Shinkafi, wajen Zurmi, ya zai Zurmi Shinkafi, ya gangara har ya tafi a yankin su Sabon Birni a jihar Sokoto ta yanzu, inda yake cewa ba mai ratsa gulbin ga ya suna ko ɗan gidan wane. So yana faɗar irin saboda yanki akwai mazaje sosai yan tauri waɗanda kuma dama a tarihance kamar da na ce wani lokacin idan matsala ta faru a cikin ina kokarin yi wannan point tun da farko cewa yawanci mutane mukan manta ko muka kokari mu manta jiya haka sai a ga kamar abu yau ya fara. Amma idan aka duba ta bakin sarki tafshin kaduna ko mun faru cikin duniyar nan yace mai ne dan an yi shi tunda za a ga cewa abubuwa ne waɗanda suna da tarihi kwarai a baya waɗanda ba sabbin abu ne kawai dai wato salon abubuwa ne suke ko kuma kamarin abun ya fi na da misali idan ka ɗauka ko ba amala mu mata yau da kullum ko kuma yanzu misali mu'amala tsakanin saurayi da budurwa wanda da sai an yi wasiƙa ko kuma an samu nan aiki an aika an yi kaza yanzu da WhatsApp ga su DM da wane ne na social media da sauransu wanda ana yin interaction da wannan a yi abubuwan da za a yi ba tare da ma wani ya gani ba sai mutum wanda kuma bai tunanin cewa a dama fa akwai irin wannan kawai dai yanzu akwai wani abu da ya bayyana so su waɗannan kaɗan da kuma ta'addancin dukkan su ba sababbin abu ne abubuwa ne waɗanda suke da tasiri da suke da tarihi shi ne zan kaɗan kila jaddada mana a nan wani duk irin abin da wannan waka sai da ta da hankali da ta yi da yadda mutane suke ganin cewa kamar wani abu ne sabo ba sabo ba ne kenan an taɓa yi irin security a can da idan ma ba a yi sa a matsayin yan ta'adda ba an yi sa a matsayin barayi an yi sa a matsayin manyan mafarauta an yi sa a matsayin manyan sarakunan ainihin da ya shafi gargajiya so wannan shi ne kawai an yi sa irin da an yi wannan kuma kamar yadda nake faɗa yanzu misali in ka duba akwai ma sata cikin satin nan a Facebook nake commenting akan wani yayi ya kawo wani sharhi akan Kano a shekaru kamar 80 da suka wuce ko 90 lokacin da ake aikin littafin bajiri na kamusin da 30 da wani abu kaga na wannan lokaci yana bayanin irin kusan shekara 80 da yake nan yana bayanin yadda rayuwa take a wannan lokacin sai inda ya kawo din ya nuna cewa akwai matsala ta tsaro domin ba a yawon dare an hana fitar dare idan dare ba a fita daga gari ana rufe kuma ana kaza da sauransu akwai saboda akwai ishu na masu sata waɗanda ko suke wani abu makamancin haka sannan kuma sai nake cewa to ai ba daɗe ba akwai littafin da maybe wasu da anan ba za su san shi ba labarin baba of aro wanda aka actually ainihin wata baturiya ce matar wani bature MD Smith wanda ya zo yana bincike ita ma kuma sai take taya shi musamman saboda akwai matsala akwai al'ada ta ce matan aure namiji ba zai wanda ba maharamin su ba zai iya ya mu'amala da su ba dan haka sai matar shi ke taya shi wajen hira da mata domin tattaro bayanai haka ta baba wanda lokacin ma tsohuwa ce ta rika bata labarin a wancan lokacin ta rubuta kuma ta fassara zuwa turanci aka buga da farko kafin daga baya a buga da Hausa sai nake cewa a labarin bawa akwai inda take maganar ko kuma in ce ma abubuwa da yawa da yanzu zamu rika ganin kamar sabbin abubuwa ne ko kuma a ce ai zamani ya sa amma za a ga cewa a wancan lokacin misali kasuwanci misali ko abin da mahallin shahidin da yake da wannan maganar shine akwai kamar karkuwa da mutane duk da lokacin akwai bauta ana kawo mutane amma kuma ana iya biyan kudin fansa wanda ba ta da misalin an kama babar matar babanta da wata aka tafi da su daga baya suka samu labarin inda suke aka baban ya je aka biya kuɗi ba kodai ko kuma wasu abubuwa da aka samu aka za mu dawo inda za ka karanta gaba da wanda sun ke kuma wajen Suleiman yanzu shin dan wannan abin ya faru a baya mun samu yan ta'adda mun samu yan daba a baya an samu kashe-kashe tashi da yanzu ko mun zo cikin wannan zamanin mun samu irin su da turki sauran mutane su baki daya mun samu mawaƙan su kamar yadda samu mawaƙan baya shin wannan dama ce a gare mu da za mu ce shikenan ba za a iya jiya wannan lamari ba sai dai kawai a bashi a yanda yake idan ka tuna ita kanta wannan waƙar kai ka fara tsara ta daga gare mu so idan har ka nemo ta ka ganta ka nazarin ta akwai abin da kile yake cikin ranka game da wannan waƙar da ya sanya matsayin ka wanda ke nazarin al'amuran tsaro da yadda za a kawo daidaito a cikin al'umma ka ga cewa wannan waƙar tana da muhimmanci a sanda a yau da ni abin da ke damuna shine idan har mun yarda an yi abin nan a baya
kashe muna ma riga an samu amma irin wanda ake a yanzu irin wanda ake yanzu a kashe mutum 200 500 a jikkata al'umma a jikkata ƙasa baki ɗaya ta sannan kuma a ɗauko wannan ginshiki ana waƙe shi kai a cikin ranka dan Allah ya kake ji.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Masu sauraro barka da safiya. Ko kan fara ma cewa komai zan so in yanko wani magana da wani ɗan gwagwarmaya da ake kira Steve Biko ɗan South Africa ya ce, zan faɗa a turanci ƙila na za ta fassara, don ta yi alƙawarin za ta yi fassara. Ya ce the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Wato abin da wanda yake nufi shi ne, makami mafi hatsari da ke hannun azzalimi shi ne zuciyan wanda yake zalunta. Su Bala Usman suka ce liberate your mind. So abin da ya sa na kawo wannan bayani shi ne abin tsoro ne wannan waka da tallafi da aka yi da kuma wasu ma da aka yi da kuma yadda malam Abdulaziz ya faɗa na so ka ko wannan amma da yake da ko zan ɗauki wani salo na daban. An daɗe ana yi, an yi barayi gaggan barayi da aka san su misali a cikin garin Kaduna akwai gida na wani sanannen barawa da aka sani wanda an samu ɗan ƙwaro ya mai waka ko wanda sun san Scorpio sun san Scorpio. Kuma ya kira a wakan ya ce Scorpio da mijin gaske yana da wani waska ne wanda abin da ya yi ba kowane namiji zai iya ba shi yasa ya mai waka. Duk da kasancewa shi mawaƙi ko mai wani irin tunani ko marubuci da sauransu ba za ka iya taƙaita wannan fikira da abin da Allah ya ba shi ba. Ba za ka iya ce mai ga yadda zai rubuta abin da zai rubuta. Asali ma shi wani marubucin irin ma abin da yake son rubuta idan ka hana shi rubutawa ba zai iya rubuta komai ba. So amma idan kuma muka kalli abin yadda ta'addancin nan ya zama muna alaƙa kai ya ci mana kusan shekaru 10 musamman na wannan zamani da ya zo za mu iya takaicin wannan waƙa da aka yi ma wani wanda mutane suna ji wani yana jin wane shi ne wanda ya kashe yayana ko ya kashe mamana ko wannan shi ya ƙona gonarmu ya talauta mu ya samu a halin haulayi. Yana da matuƙar takaici idan ka ji an waƙe irin wannan. Dan da aka sa waƙan na ɗan yi psychological analysis na ga wasu sun fara ɗan kaɗa ƙafa da sauransu saboda waƙan ta yi daɗi. To amma kuma menene shi turjin shi annoba ne ga al'umma kuma sai ya zama na al'umma kamar an muka duka ne sai a hana ka kuka ko a ƙara muka kuma da wani abu na takaici. Shi ne abin da ya faru a nan wurin. So amma shi a kullum abu guda biyu ne. Mutane kala biyu ne. Akwai magina su gini suke yi builders. Akwai masu rusawa. Akwai destroyers. Akwai wanda speciality su kawai in wani gini su rusa. Ba za su akwai masu halimin cewa so Abdulaziz da ya faɗa akwai wanda su idan aka yi gini rusa za su abin da suka iya kenan ba abin da za ka yi da su kuma duniya ta naɗe haka duniya za ta tafi. Motarka zai iya tuka ka daga nan zuwa wani wuri da kake so ka je cikin ƙanƙanin lokaci in ga abu ne mai kyau. The same mota idan ka yi amfani da ita ba daidai ba sai ta kashe ka. Idan ka je ka zabga giya ba daidai ba ko kai wani abu ba daidai ba sai ta kashe ka. Cokali wannan da za ka tsoma a zuma ka lasa ka ji daɗi. The same cokali yana iya zama makami. Idan muka samu mutane suna waƙe turji suna su specialization ɗin kenan. Ya kamata mu samu mutane da za su fito ta wannan salon su yaƙi irin wannan aƙida. Shi yasa 'yan siyasa
siyasa kanta ba ta tafiya sai da waka. Tun asali siyasa da waka take tafiya. Shi yasa kuka ga mawaƙi irin Rarara ya shahara, ko kana son shi ko baka son shi. Ni ke na wata ran naji sai na dan sannan gane. So suna da tasiri ne wurin mallakan zukatan mutane. Shi yasa waka yake da tasiri. Akwai wani wakan da ya daɗi sai aka ce ai ko malam ba zai ce ba daɗi ba, sai dai ce mai, sai dai ce ba kyau. So a irin wannan ƙarni ina ga irin wannan taro yana da muhimmanci, da kuma shi ginshiƙin ma da ya kawo na wannan taron abin da ake magana a kai. Muna so mu samu mutane masu murya. Shi kullum abu kaman bokiti ne da ba komai, duk abin da ka zuba shi ne zai shiga. Kaman zukatan matasa ne, kaman takarda ne da ba a yi rubutu ba. Duk abin da ka rubuta shi za a karanta. So ba magana an wake turji ba ne, maganan shi ne ina su ma waɗanda za su zo da muryoyinsu su mai da martani su kuma sa zukatan mutane, ba wai an kashe mun mutum an wake turji. Idan wani ya zo kuma ya yi waka against irin turji, shi wanda yake cikin wannan matsala zai ji daɗi da sauransu. Kuma ba sai irin wannan wakan kayi shi directly ba, in ma kana tsoro kana iya waka akan zaman lafiya. Na san kowa ya tuna wakan da ake cewa one love keep us together. Har yanzu aka buga shi, ko da kana faɗa ne da wani bangare da wani bangare kuka haɗa wuri da an sa wakan nan sai kaga kowa yana jujjuyawa, sai ka ɗan ji wannan da ake kiran shi ne san ƙasa, patriotism ɗinka ya fara ɗan dawowa da sauransu.
Alhamdulillah. Masha Allah, bari mu koma wajen da kai fage biyu ne. Maradun ina jin kusan duk dare. Na'am? Yawwa da duk dare bacci matsala ce. Al'umma wannan yanki baki ɗin duk abin da ya shafi wannan kamar yadda Adam zai faɗa. Dama nan gidan abin ne. Ya ga dai yanzu kawai saboda kila hanyoyin da ake fiddo da waɗannan abubuwa ne suka bayyana, musamman abin da shafi social media da makamantansu. Sannan kuma kai marubuci ne irin na waɗannan waƙoƙi amma a cikin Ingilishi. To ba ma wannan kaɗai ke da mahimmanci dai a wurina ba, abin da ya mahimmanci shi ne kai ɗan mai da martani ne. Ba ka taɓa yadda ka ga abin haka nan ba kawai a zube, musamman abin da shafi zalunci sauransu a cikin kawai kai. Ka yi rubuce tun daga shekaru wajen shekara 15 zuwa yau. Waƙoƙi ne da labarai da waɗannan abubuwan. A matsayin wanda yake a cikin wannan yanki, a matsayin ka na manazarci malami wanda ke da ainihin PhD a wannan harka ta rubutu musamman waka, ya kake ci game da wannan waka ta da
masu sauraron mu wallahi ko waɗansu sun kukan gidansu yake bi. Wato na muallim bi rinda da fara jin wannan waka ta Bello Turji da Adamu Aliyu yayi, wanda Sani Blaki dutsen kuda ya dauki na wata, abinda bai mamaki ba gaskiya, saboda akwai abin da suka faru baya wanda in su da wani experience ba abin wanda zai bashi mamaki ba, kamar yadda Manu bai point out a Suleiman lokacin da aka kunna wannan waka ya ga suna kada kawo musu, amma ko lokaci guda suna da ana kira su da Turji gidan sai bashi sai suka dakata. To kaga sai abin da development yake dan na Dexter Felix, akwai hanyoyi da ke kallon mawaki ko jaru. Dan muna magana ne akan abin da shafi adabi da kuma wake irin wannan na baka, musamman da zama kira wannan kamar irin wata gurbataccen waka ce, amma we cannot remove it from adabi, tana cikin abin da tsarin adabi. Idan ma kuma ga mata shi ke shigon adabi yana da huskoki kala-kala, kamar na asalin na ma'ana tashi abin da wanda shafi kamar gida ce ana gaita mutum kamar da ya fa haka wani sun wanda kasi ne wanda a makusancin ka. Akwai kuma ma'ana wanda ke da alaƙa da dukka, inda za mu kalli ta fuskar fasaha da ɗabi'u da sauransu. Akwai kuma da za a koma bangaren na ilimi inda ake magana ta abin da shafi fasaha ta al'umma. So wannan wata fasaha ce wanda ake tura ta daban. Ba zan manta ba, na yi aiki a wani kawai da ake ce mai ƙetaren bare-bari a wura da togon magani, da yana kamar ma nan ne tushen asalin banditry as far back as 2006. Ko suna cewa wala kamar 2011, amma ba ka bane, abin ya fara long before lokacin. Shi Abdullahi ya sani shi da ya tattauna da ƙungiyar su. Akwai abin da ake cewa da ya ta fahimta a ishu na security kamar wani spectrum ne. Nan wani end muna da adalci da wani end kuma muna da zaman lahiya. Idan akwai zaman lahiya ga al'umma za ka ga cewa akwai adalci cikin ta. Idan kuma ka ga cewa babu zaman lahiya sai ka koma baya ka bincika akwai rashin adalci. Abin da kisan bai yi kudin shi ne akwai lokacin da ne wanda aikin da kidaya 2006 in ka je ga ƙauye sai ka tuna da hakimai ko tattauna da sauransu. So lokacin akwai ɗan conflict tsakanin makiyaya da manoma sukan zo su tattauna da sarakunan su hakimansu a musu shari'a. Ni dai abin da na gani da lokacin rashin adalci da gani kusa an cuta ba wanda killarin da gani wannan an musu ba daidai ba an haice su za ka ga an samu lafiya ya sai da shanun shi da yawa ya zo ya kawo suwar kawai a yin gurbin na conflict. So wannan abin ne ya ta'azzara su wannan abin ne ke ƙara ƙona su idan ana musu adalci kamar da ake yawan cewa bai lace bai da yahiya ko bai kamshi sai ya rama. So irin wannan abin ne su mutane wanda a ɓangaren su suna ganin su turbe kamar wasu jarumai ne gare su kuma da mutanen waje muna ganin su kamar mai abin mutane ne mashaya jini ba su kashe al'umma da sauransu. So su a ganin su suna waka ce ta maza bangaren jarumta muna da kashe waƙi da yawa mawaƙan na masarauta mawaƙan na sana'a mawaƙan jama'a da sauransu suna muna da maza kamar yadda zai bayani a su zuwa ya faru tushen da kuma samu wani adamu ayuba amma akwai bambanci lokacin da na kamar magana ta ce shi deliberately called turji a terrorist amma wancan bangaren wancan inda aka yi so ba za mu ce musu terrorist ba. So akwai bambanci kwarai da gaske. So wayancan muna ɗaukar su irin waƙoƙi da zamu yi alfahari da su mu yi nazarin su a cikin adabi saɓanin abin da ke faruwa yanzu saboda duk wanda ya san yanayin da muke cikin yanzu an san cewa yanayi ne wanda kowa na bakin ciki sannan a ce lokacin da ake wanda bakin ciki an duka wani ya fito da wata waka yana kururuta yana tumbama mutane da su tuji akwai abin da tashi hankali a cikin wannan da al'amari. So a bangaren da matsayina na marubuci ni na ga wannan kaman wani nuna ne na kasawa ga mabuta da kuma kasawa ga jami'an tsaro da kuma mu kan al'umma ke hulɗa da su wayannan na mutanen saboda kamar da duk wanda ya bayyana lokacin da ke gida a bidiya akwai mutane da yawa wayanda ke kuma kama wayannan barayi ba su kaɗai ke aikin ba suna aiki da mutane da yawa suka yi masu musu abinci masu kawo musu makamai da sauransu tare suke aiki to kake da wannan kasawa ce ga mu al'umma kasawa ce ga jami'an tsaro kuma kasawa ce kuma ga abin nan ga ita kanta hukuma
to alhamdulillah yes kafin mu zo kila buhara rarraba inda kowa zai tafi kasar dan wasu suna cewa dukkan mu baki ɗin dukkan mu ya ta'adda ne da su sturgeon da su waɗanda suke faɗa da sturgeon da jami'an tsaron da sarakunan da mu kama yan jaridan da mu kama marubuta ayyukan adabin duk al'ummu baki ɗaya bana cewa dukkan mu yan ta'adda ne me muke nufi da cewa yan ta'adda ne idan an samu informa wanda ke kawo labari da yanzu za a kama mutane idan an samu mawaki wanda ke waƙe irin yan ta'adda idan kuma an samu waɗanda suke ganin cewa ai wannan abu ba ma laifi bane to yanayin rayuwar ne kuma yadda da sai wani bayani ne yawa ke irin waɗannan dama mun riga mun samu to abin da muke son a riƙa yin irin abin da aka yi a daɗi idan an samu waƙoƙi na ɓarayi to kuma za a samu waɗanda suke waƙoƙin akan wannan satar da kuma rashin adalci wannan satar idan ana magana karuwai da karuwanci za a samu masu waɗa karuwan da karuwanci sannan kuma a samu wanda za su ci a'a wannan da ya shafi karuwanci da karuwan nan ba a da al'adu ba da addini ba za su mai da martani wannan bangaren da ke son zuwa da makalla ko da cikin minti ɗaya ne kuma da kai da ke da abin a samu kai
wato akwai abin da annana malin zai tsawa mahanga su wayannan na yan ta'addar bai kamata a ce kai tsaye an mai musu da martani ba dan kamar ana ƙara gidada al'amarin ne dan da na tabbata akwai wanda ba su san da wani waka ba sai da aka kula ta yanzu sannan suka gida so idan dalilin kuma ana ta mata wani irin analysis ana da mata wani irin sharhi da sauransu amma muka iya countering din su without mentioning them without making any reference to them sai mu dinga rubutu wanda zai haskaka al'umma, wanda zai ilmantar da su, wanda zai fahimtar da su. Wanda mu iya saboda mu aje tarihi, saboda yana daga cikin muhimmancin adabi, aje tarihi da kuma abin da adana abin al'ada da sauransu. Wanda wannan ba mishi bisa al'ada kai tsaye, ko kira da gurbatacciyar abin da al'ada ko adabi. So ni ban ba da ƙarfi da mai da martani kai tsaye ba. Da ni so in za a yi contract da haskaka al'umma ko kuma musu bayani akan wani abu wanda zai kawo da
Dokta, abin da sake da ake tunanin a mai da martani shine abu ne guda biyu ake kallo. Don kamar ɗaya ya zama shi ke tashi ko yaushe shi ake ji, shi ake saurare. Idan ba a hankali ba shi zai cinye mai, sai su kaso baki daya. Kila shi sanya mutane suke tunanin a'a a rage dan samun wasu ko da ba a kira sunan ba. Zan ba ka misali ne. An taɓa irin wannan tattauna da shekara biyu ko suka wuce. An samu kuma wasu mawaƙan da suka ɗan ce wani abu akan wannan. Yanzu kasa akwai farfesan waƙa da shi cewa ba a canzawa fufuna yanda ɗan ta'adda yake ɗan ta'adda ne. Mugun ne wajen ranci ne ba da ke shi haka. Shi kuma ya hama kawo da ganin shi a'a al'ada dubu ne a dubu ainihin al'umma baki daya. Shin matsalar ta Hausawa ce ko ta Fulani ce? Ta shugabanni ce ko ta talakawa ce? To kaga shi ma alamu ne kokarin samar da mafita daga irin waɗannan abubuwa. Suna jin kila abinda mutane suke so su shi ne kada a bari irin waƙoƙin da kamar yadda Abdullahi zai magana. An samu ɗaya ta yi tashi, an samu kuma kila guda 10 ko 20 ko 40 su suka mamaye. To kenan za a samu mai ci gaba da ta'addanci kuma ta kai a cikin harkar waƙa. Malam Suleiman ba sani ba ko za ka yi ƙara mana haske game da wannan.
Akwai a faɗa da ta'addanci duk duniya a 2006 akwai majalisar ɗinkin duniya a bangaren security council akwai wani resolution da suka fito da shi kasancewan ana ta tura sojoji suna ta yaƙi shekara da shekaru in yau ana yaƙi da mutum 500 ne kan a dawo shekara mai zuwa an kashe 300 saura 200 shekara mai zuwa aka dawo sun zama 1000 dan a cikin wannan operations din akan sami human rights abuses akwai mata sai a yi rape sojoji da suke faɗa daga nan kawai kayan radicalizing mutum shi ma ya shiga faɗa kuna faɗa da mutum 500 sun koma 1000 2000 da kansu suka dawo suka kawo wani resolution 16 something suka ce member states should begin to address conditions conducive for the spread of terrorism meaning dole duk wasu wanda suka yi mubaya'a ga ita majalisar ɗinkin duniya dole a fara kawo wasu hanyoyi da za a wani sabon salon sassabe wannan safalikita sai ya zamana a wani lokacin ne aka samu abin da ake kira preventing and countering violent extremism sai duniya ta fara adopting which we were lucky mu ne first set of experts a Nigeria akan wannan particular aspect so akwai abin da ake kira counter narrative da alternative narrative counter narrative shine idan sun saka ta ya za mu yi amfani da strategic communication wani ilimi mu mai da martani ne da za mu mayar wanda a kai tsaye ko sai mun bi ta bayan fage zan yi misali da wani abu da ya faru recently na siyasa ne amma misali zan yi saboda mutane su gane an samu wani tsohon gwamna na Kaduna wanda ya yi maganganu a gidan TV sai aka samu ofishin mai ba shugaban ƙasa shawara ofisin malamin Rubadu inda na aiki suka yi responding mutane da yawa sun dai ga abin ba su gane da yawa ba su gane abin da ake kira stratcom da ya fara wannan wurin ba ofishin NSA ko sunan shi bata kira ba kuma bata fito ta adresin wani abu sai ta ce a'a idan ka ce ana ba da kuɗi ne ba a yaƙi akwai sojoji da aka kashe sun rasa rayuwarsu suna da iyalai a gidaje suna jin kalamanka misali kana cewa wai kuɗi aka baya bayan su suna da yan da aka kashe in kuka lura nan da ya dawo ya sake fito da wani bayani baya magana ya sake fito da wani bayani amma saboda ya ga an haɗa shi faɗa da al'umma a wani level na ilimi so shi counter narrative ba wai sai ka kira sunan mutum ba sai ka kira ba akwai wani siyasa a nan da zai shiga wani jam'iyya da ana ta sa rai idan zai shiga kawai sai ya fito da wata kwando da abarba da waye kowa ya gane inda ya dusa ba tare da ya yi magana ba so akwai kuma counter alternative narrative ba za ku jira su ba za ku ringa haɓaka ƙananan ƙungiyoyi da ake kira community based organization CBOs. Za ku ba su kuɗi su yi wani abu da zai kawo zaman lafiya, da zai haɗa mutane, da mutane za su gane muna da ƙarfi idan muka taru za mu iya yaƙan duk wani abu da ya same mu. Abin da ya kamata a fara yi kenan. Kamar yanzu wannan abin da su Nasiba Salim wannan zaman yana cikin irin wannan. Ai shi kanshi wannan zaman da wannan maganar da muke, ai shi kanshi kamar akwai counter, akwai alternative narrative a cikin shi, which is a program da muke sa ran gwamnati ma ya kamata ta shigo tana ba da dama da sauransu.
Ina tunanin ne ya kamata a ce mu shigo da shi bai ba shugaban kasa shawara akan harkokin watsa labarai. Ba so muke wakila mu ce ga abin da zai ba. A daga abubuwan suke faruwa, ni abin da ke ban daɗi shine shi kan shi din ya san abin da ake kafin ya zama mai ba da shawarar nan dama cikin wannan harka yi. Ya je wurin nan ya yi hira da su ya ga al'amuran nan, na tabbata akwai abubuwa da ya hango maki da ayyukan adabi waɗanda ake a wannan lokacin. Ba sani ko kun taɓa kwana wurin zuwa wurin na dawowa to da inda sun taɓa kwana na tabbatar kila sai sun je wajen dina, sai sun je wajen rawa da kaɗe-kaɗe da sauran abubuwa waɗanda ake gudanarwa a cikin dajin. Saboda harkar adabi tana nan, rawa da kaɗe-kaɗe suna nan, harkokin da muke na rayuwa ne kuma suna yi ba kamar binciken da muke za a kan wannan fage yanzu. Muna so mu gano kuma wani irin abubuwa suke nan shaƙi. Duk ana yayi ana kasa jama'a amma suna sa yi domin su ne na nishaɗi su na waƙoƙi su na auren su na rayuwar su yau da kullum. Shin lokacin da ka shiga cikin wannan daji a lokacin ba kana tare da gwamnati ba kana tare da gidan jarida. Na tabbatar idanun sun gano abubuwa da yawa waɗanda idan muka kalle su a yanzu za mu iya cewa ga yadda za mu iya yi mu ga an yi maganin irin waɗannan abubuwa musamman abin da shafi adabi. Ba muna son wani ce a'a abin da ya shafi sai an ga an kawo zaman lafiya ba da ƙarfi da yake wannan ba hurumin ba amma a matsayin mu na wanda suke ɗalibai wanda suke hulɗa da abin da ya shafi adabi waƙa zube da makamantan shin kai a matsayinka na marubuci me za ka iya yi kaga cewa ka ɗan sauƙaƙa waɗannan abubuwa a wajen abubuwan za ka fita ba mu san mu ji kawai waɗannan amon da yake da yawo za su mu ma namu ya shigo ta ina ta wata hanyar mawaƙa ne marubuta ne na kaban zube masu wasan kwaikwayo ne a rika ganin su suna fita kila ko ne ba su sa hannu daga cewa abubuwan da kamar yadda su ne da yayi ya zama alternative ne ne narration.
To zan fara da magana alternative narration narratives kamar yadda kai magana. Na san akwai cibiya ta jami'ar Usman Dan Fodio da take kokari kwarai da gaske wajen wato haɓaka irin waɗannan alternative narratives ɗin, wato a samu wasu muryoyi waɗanda suke yaƙi da waɗannan abubuwa kuma suke kira akan haɗin kai da sauransu. Sashen kasar Najeriya ya amma akwai wata cibiya ina ga Center for Peace, ko Center for Peace wanda suna haɗa kula da sashen harsunan Najeriya ɗin. So an samu irin kamar akwai su Bello Alkanci da sauransu waɗanda sun yi wake-wake haka. An yi gasa, an yi ta Hausa, an yi ta Fulatanci. Sannan kuma na san a popular culture akwai rarara ma yayi waka ta kokarin haɗin kai. To amma ka san wani abu musamman waɗanda mu da muke ɗaliban kuma da ɗaliban adabi kamar harshe suna da wata kamanceceniya ta cewa baka tilasta wa mutane ga yadda abin da su saurara. Misali na san ɗabi a taso akwai wannan a lokacin mu akwai misali da a cikin an tara afro ana sauraron bambali wani da tijan unguwa zai ce yana da ba ku jin magana za su ji ga abin da ya kamata ku saurara amma ku ga abin da wasu da kuke so ku saurara. So wani lokacin ni na ganin of course ba wai gajiyawa za a yi ba da su masu addan da ku inda ba ce su wanda nan ina adireshin da mutanen da za a iya cewa creative ne. So da ku masu wake-wake da rubuce-rubuce da sauransu ko drama da kuma gwamnati da sauran waɗanda masu ruwa da tsaki ba wai gajiyawa za a yi ba amma kuma mu sani cewa kamar yadda ya ce ba za ka yana da wahala ka karkatar mutane da cewa ga abin da za su saurara. Yare yana cikin abin da kamar malaman suke cewa wasu yarukan suka zama ba sa girma, wasu suka bunƙasa saboda akwai misali kamar faransanci waɗanda su sa da ƙa'idoji da wane ne kalmomi sai an tace an yi wane ne, amma kamar yarukan da suka bar mutane sasakai kamar hausa din za a ga cewa tana bunƙasa yanzu kullum ana samun sabbin kalmomi a hausa waɗanda shekara 10 ko shekara 5 ba a amfani da su. Akwai registers, akwai wani lokacin ma kamar science ne amma su shiga cikin mainstream za su wato yare wata kalmomi ne da waɗansu mutane kan suke amfani da su amma sai ga abu da to ita ma shi ma aikin adadi abu ne wanda ba za ka kamar yanzu ba ka iya ba magani wani ba za ka iya rubuta ka ce ka je ka sha wannan. So amma idan aka yi sa'a aka ci gaba da wani kokari din sai ka ga wata ta zo ta yi fice ko kuma wasu rubuce-rubucen ko wajen sun zo sun yi ficen da zai dakushe abu kuma yi ƙara ƙarfafa mutane gwiwa wajen tunanin zaman lafiya da kuma haɗin kai.
Da lamitin so nake mu ɗora kan wannan kai mazuci ne ka rubuta littafi wanda ke da zube ka rubuta na waka sannan kuma ka haɗa ainihin gwiwa kai da barin gatawa wanda ku samu da wani littafi shi ma akan waɗannan rikice-rikice da waɗannan tashe-tashe da kula. So nake yanzu ka ba mu sai da kanka a matsayinka da marubuci wanda kai in ka gani ka ga jariri a bayan mahaifiyar shi bai gwamnati ce ko shi ana raya a kai ba za ta ana raya sai ka taba wani mahaifiyar shi yawwa me ya sanya kake wannan yana da muhimmanci saboda mutane gane cewa ba kowane adadi bane kawai zai bi haka nan kawai sharholiya a cikin sharholiya akwai abin da kira aqida a wajen rubutu, akwai abin da kira aqida a wajen waka ko akwai abin da kira aqida wajen wasan koto ko wajen rubutu ma haka nan kawai ko da ke rubutu. Shin ba ka cewa ya dace a ce matasan mu yanzu an ba su irin wannan dama su ma su fara koyi irin waɗannan yanayi na ne aqidantar da abin da suke rubutawa kasan mu al'ummar mu al'adun mu addinin mu ya zama da shi ne za mu bai da hankali a kai shi fiye da ne sharholiya ya tsakanta. Wani daga koma cikin waƙar da ka rubuta cikin turanci zai cewa nan ba turanci zafi ba amma kana yi ma bayanin ta waƙar da ka rubuta wata fito da defense me kake so kai a cikin wannan waƙa sannan me zai ƙara matasa masu tasowa game da wannan yanayi.
Ita wannan waƙa da rubuta ta sunanta AFS da turanci ya rubuta ta daga tun 2011 lokacin akwai wanda suka yi compounded suka sa da wuce wannan bakin da baka na farko akwai rashin tsaron duk lokacin bai kaban sosai ba da biyu kuma akwai wanda faru da ya shafi full subsidy protest wanda aka a lokacin Jonathan sai kuma abubuwan da ba karasa ba gaskiya lokacin muna ɗan matasan mu mai na prime sannan kuma irin kan muna zaki sosai so shi yasa lokacin da dan gida da Daily Trust ina ga October 2012 lokacin Adam Ibrahim shi ma he paid attention to that particular point reference wanda da gaske ina cikin tashi hankali a matsayin da marubuci ka san cewa kana da haƙƙi na ilmantarwa akwai amma da tsakaninka da al'ummarka kana haƙƙi na adana al'ada kana haƙƙi na ka faɗakar da su da sauransu so wannan tunanin shi ya ƙara min ƙwarin gwiwa dan zo na bayyana cewa wannan lokaci ne da ya kamata mai rising against tyranny mai rising against injustice. I think I went around this point at that point I shared it with almost 5 people lokacin Richard Ali is here. Richard Ali was the first person to read the coin lokacin dan daga nan sai shared it da mai gidana Professor Tahir Malam Tahir na dan Fodiyo da mutum na ku shine Umma Ali Musa wanda ke Germany. That the first person was the Abdullahi sai Ismail Bala. Then my shi mutane forward a lokacin. So wannan lokacin muna son mu faɗakar da matasan mu cewa bai yiwuwa kana cikin al'umma ana zaluntar al'ummarka amma ka kai bakinka ka yi shiru kana matashi maji karfi kuma kana matashi Allah ya baka hikima ta rubutu saboda turu wannan rubutu nan zaka samu kai saka sako inda ba ka tsammani ya kai yanzu ga shi ga harkar ta adabin na adabin na social media for example yanzu inda yake zuwa ba wuri ne inda kowane adabi zai zuwa ba muna amfani da rediyo da talabijin amma shi wannan na media din ya fi zuwa inda ake son ya tafi so wannan lokacin mai yake da wannan damar ne sai muka dinga isa da sako kuma ya tasiri sosai wannan shi babu dama daga baya ina ga around 2015 muka yi kwano ofisa wata kungiya da ake cewa da Farsatun Community Initiative har yanzu tana aiki sannan kuma har yanzu ko wanda sati muna ba da report akan abin da ya shafi a rashin na tsaro a cikin na Zamfara da abin da kewayenta. So wani waƙi na son da mutane cewa munan na mawaƙa jiya akwai abin da faru idan na ganin da muke sauraren na Poetry Slam rabin wanda suka yi performance jiya su ne akan abin da shafi rashin tsaro. So wannan abin sai ke irin ƙara samani although ni banda wanda hikima ta Islam amma yana da hikima ta rubutu sai dai daga zuwa da abubuwan da ke faruwa can baya. To shi kuma littafi na Echoes of Carnage littafi ne wanda kullum ka hau media za ka da magana da zamfara. So bari mu idea da ta keɓe ku da idea that was 2028 ta fara aikin da cewa bari a also punch mutane a tattara saboda su yi tashi. So aiki ya tsaya daga farko daga baya kuma sai ta yi kwazon da Ismail Bala sai muka ga da ya kamata mu bi muka tattauna muka yi kwazon da Professor Bala Mutsahi har muka zo da wanda littafin da muka wallafa wanda muna da yana ganin fan sun kai kusa da kwarata bayan kuma cikin sakon su da rubuta irin su da Abdullahi irin su Halima Batazu kuma duk suna magana ne akan abin da shafi akan matsalolin tsaron da kuma gaskiya da fara ke wanke muna iya yi wani mu na marubuta muna iya yi muna iya mana masu nazari muna iya ko da ko ba mu hito mun ce ga abin da muke yi ba ke rafin ya zama al'adar mu ya zama tunanin mu shine fahimta da wannan shi ke da muhimmanci kafin kidan mu kuma ga masu a saurare zan zo malam Suleiman neman takaitaccen bayani game da shin kana ganin waɗannan waƙoƙi da ake bayan ta'adda ba za su iya zama abin da hukuma ko kuma jami'an gwamnati za su yi amfani da su ba wajen gano irin matsalolin da za a iya magancewa idan aka ɗauke su aka kai su cikin wani wuri aka samu masana suka zana suna nazarin za a iya gane sirrin waɗannan ainihin 'yan ta'adda Bello Turjin da sauransu baki da an ka samu waka 40 da aka yi masu ka zauna a matsayin da wanda ke nazarin tsaro da harkokin ta'addanci ba za a iya samun wani abu da zai iya kai mu ga magance irin waɗannan abubuwan ba. Already akwai intelligence content. Aka yi tracing. So many abubuwa. Yanzu ko mai mawaƙin na har da ba da number waya. Wani ya tabbatar kila har ya samu alarm. Yes. Gwamnati tambole ya sa an nemo shi. Yanzu a lokacin nan ya bace aka dinga ina za a gano shi. To ni ba ma kin gisa ba. A'a waƙoƙin mu a matsayin masu nazarin adabi muka ɗauki abin da aka rubuta duk sirrin da ke ciki za ka yi gano. Idan matan shi guda 3 ne mun ji za mu nemi ina iyayenta. Iyayen shi kai shi turjin. ƴaƴan shi ina suke zaune Abdulaziz ya shiga wurin ya san da yake daga cikin waƙoƙin za mu iya gane wuraren za mu iya sanin su. So su sojoji da jami'an tsaro za su amfani da waɗannan kayan adabin su ne su kai ga ainihin waɗannan 'yan ta'adda. Sai ba daga cikin a samu hanyar za a bi magance ta'adda.
Sosai shi yasa a dunkule na ce suna akwai intelligence content a ciki. Amma abin da zan faɗa a guje na ga yana da matuƙar muhimmanci. Lokacin da nake tasowa akwai kawuna ma'aikacin BBC ne Late Adam Yusuf BBC. Nakan taya shi mu je in zai ɗau rahoto da sauransu nakan rike mai rediyo. So sai je wani rahoto akan faɗan da ake da Amerika da Saddam Hussein. Sai da aka gama rahoton na mayar mai da rediyon shi muna dawowa sai na ce baba me yasa Amerika za ta faɗa da su da Saddam shekara kusan 12 a tura commando mana ko Rambo. Saboda menene gwamnati na America ta yi investing a Hollywood. Hollywood suna fitar da content da yake ɗaukaka America. Yake nuna ta wani yana ganin America ta faɗa da Najeriya within 1 second an gama da ba haka bane. Wato akwai abin da kira psychological warfare. Gwamnatin must sit tight. Dole ne a sa kuɗi a kani ko kana son su ko ba ka son su. Because idan baka sa kuɗi a irin wannan kafa ba za su yi abin da za su yi. Alilu zai yi tsalle-tsallen shi yadda ya ga dama. Ba abin da za ka iya yi. Dole ne mai investing a irin content da suke fitarwa. Ke sa duk ba mu da kishin ƙasa. A yi film wanda yake nuna kishin ƙasa, yake nuna son ƙasa, yake nuna sacrifice wa ƙasa, shi ne zai sa mu ci gaba. Amma gwamnati in ta naɗa hannunta a irin wannan situation din bature ce pulling the blanket over your head will not solve the matter. The matter will still remain there. kamar dan giya ne ya sha giya dan ya cire worries din shi, by the time giya ya clearing the problem will come back.
zai dawo da ba alhamdulillah ba mu sani za mu ɗan ɗauki mutum biyu mutum biyu sun yi kaɗan wata za mu zo mu ji ainihin ra'ayin mu waɗanda suka saurare mu ko da mutum biyu zuwa insha Allah bari mu soma da ga wata nan za mu zo insha Allah igalin na da kawai da ni ke da ba
tambaya ta any of the panelists can answer but ina da tambayoyi biyu za ka ba da dama ɗaya is directed to Abdulaziz and duk ranar da aka ce yau Baba Abdulaziz, who is the person that will take over what you're doing in the aspect of investigative journalism? Not personal. Like we have so many journalists interested in investigative journalism, but the worst part of it is that everyone knows how we are scared of dying at the forefront of finding out information. Who is that one person that if you're not there, will look up at the person? Yeah. And the second question,
tambaya na shi ne su waɗannan mawaƙan da suke yin waƙoƙin nan shin wani irin tunani ne da su wanda mu ba ma gani ko wani perspective ne da su wanda mu a yadda muke ganin abin ko ba daidai ba to su ne yasa su suke ganin abin da waɗannan
ba su gane shi a wajen ba
ba su gane shi ba daidai ba suna kan ba masu
sai na wajen maza yes ga wannan bismillah
Salamu alaikum. Sunana Dago. Tambaya ta ita ce shine akwai magana da kuka yi na samun cikakken fahimta kan irin wannan al'amuran. Jiya da muka ga irin wannan al'amuran na wanzuwa ko na wakana ya kamata a ce mun san menene tushensa. Ina iya kusan 30 baya lokacin da aka yi faɗan wannan Saddam Hussein ina jin me ko to za ka ga a wannan lokacin ana faɗa tsakanin ko Amerika ne da wasu to shine me zai hana mutane lokacin da suka ga irin wannan abubuwan yana faruwa su san menene kafin su yi irin abin da ake kira hasty generalization su passing judgment ba tare da sun san menene tushen wannan abu ba me haddasa wannan abu shine tambaya ta.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Tambaya ta ita ce mun ji bayanai dangane da tushe da kuma kokari da kuka yi wajen samar da bincike akan yadda waɗannan 'yan ta'adda suke rayuwa da kuma yadda za a iya kalubalantar su a cikin adabi a waƙe ko a rubuce. Muna da matasa da dama masu basira, masu hikima da hazaƙa da za su iya irin ayyuka. Kamar yadda su ma waɗannan wanda suka yi waƙoƙi na yabo da waɗannan ɓata gari ta yi wa wasu da suka ɗauki nauyinsu. Kamar yadda Amanin Janabuddin ya ambaci sunan wanda ya ɗauki nauyin waƙar da muka saurara. Wani ƙoƙari musamman daga ɓangaren gwamnati za mu iya samu na tallafi zama cewa an tayar da wasu gungun matasa masu hazaƙa da za su iya ƙalubalantar waɗannan mutane da suke yin wannan abu. A shirye muke mu ba da tamu gudunmawa amma gwamnati na shirye mun an ba da misali da waƙar lokacin da ake ta gangamin samar da haɗin kai mun ji waƙoƙi iri-iri da gwamnati ɗauki na wanda kullum kowace rana muna jin su a talabijin amma yanzu ba a jin irin wannan amma muna shan turanci da yawa.
Tambayoyi guda hudu ne na jin guda biyu ko kuma duka wajen Abdulaziz turan ɗayan kuma tana zama general.
To, salamu alaikum. Na farko zancen investigative journalism ya ganin babban abun personal decision ne wato ɗaukan wani ne tare a da ka kullum sun kafin zo matakin da cin ya kai muna ji ana faɗa cewa in kana son a yi ba na taɓa hira da malam Muhammad Haruna ina ga 2013 da zo na hira da shi a Kaduna a gidansa akan lokacin muna wani tafi a jaridar Blueprint ina aiki a wani na tambaye shi akan what makes a good journalist. Yace you have to have fire in your belly. So idan ba ka da irin wannan tunanin gaskiya zai wahala saboda ba abu ne wanda wani ɗan ƙasar ni mai sauraron waƙoƙin gargajiya ne kwarai da gaske. Akwai wani makari da yake cewa ina ga karuwa wanda yake cewa banza gudun kare mai tsoro ko ya cira ba zai kama ba. So idan ka tura mutum ma idan ba shi da kare din ba lallai ya yi ba. Na tuna cewa for example abu da yawa lokacin da na yi investigations a kai abubuwa da na yi na 'yan siyasa wanda wasu ta tsotar da ni cewa za a kashe ka za a yi wane ne akwai wani particular gwamna da aka ce ai wannan mutum is very diabolical zai iya wannan ɗinka gwamna ne har yanzu yana kai lokacin na hawan yana custom I didn't bother na yi abin da ya kamata na yi haka ma wasu daban-daban wannan magana security misali ko ma fara reporting da ne a trust da na je trust to be an editor so I know that's on the field wata rana ina da sati na farko also in a meeting aka ce okay we needed somebody to go to Baro port lokacin Buhari had commissioned that port and 2 years later it was still more for who could go to Baro aka shuru nace I will go so yes so that's actually the beginning of my side about the magana yanzu masu na insecurity na je zuwa wajen turji da kai na ɗan ji ɗan amma daga baya thanks to da tamartala kullum nan faɗa ya encourage dina mu je mana shi yace shi ma he's willing to go yana so ya experience na san cewa mishi duka matuwa da na je wajen su hali wanda har yanzu hoto na ana magana bandit kusan shi ne most popular picture da ake amfani da su hoton su shehu rake da sauran yaran su da suka yi masu ɗin su da kaki kowanne akwai fargaba definitely amma idan kai sa kanka cewa a sai da rai a samu suna ne because na san cewa for example babu tun da gwamnati hukuma za a iya zuwa kawo hari a hada da mu da sauransu kuma in both cases muna wurin an ce ai ga an girma wani jami'an tsaro haka muka so wannan kenan dan magana ta biyu ina ga maganar gwamnati yawa to wannan ba zan iya cewa za a yi ba amma dai abu ne wanda na san cewa is very possible saboda ita ministry mai kula da abubuwan arts yar arewa ce kuma yar katsina sannan na san ita ma da kanta ta taɓa yin zama da wasu masu ruwa da tsaki a kan irin wannan akan yadda musamman irin abubuwan da Suleiman ya magana a kai ma patriotism ta yaya za a yi yawa ta yaya za a yi a samar da content da suke nuna kishin ƙasa suke nuna suke addressing kuma inda ake kallon Najeriya ma mu da kanmu da kuma waje saboda wata babban matsala da muke ita shine dan Najeriya Afirka ɗin Najeriya bai yi da Najeriya ba so kuma idan baka yi da ƙasa ba shi yasa kuma dukkan matsalolin mu suke ma ƙara gaba maimakon su baya saboda in baka yi da Najeriya ba dan me zaka ba wa Najeriya rayuwarka dan me zaka bata lokacin dan me zaka yi aiki tukuru dan me zaka yi so wannan kadai is a problem dan kuma of course daga wajen ba a ganin Najeriya da musulunci saboda wataƙila yadda mun ma ba mu ɗauke ta da muhimmanci ba so wayannan abubuwan magana ko tsaron ko maganar ci gaba da kishin ƙasa da abubuwa ne masu muhimmanci Allah ya yarda idan na ga wani kuma Abuja da kokari ne magana da ita mutum me za mu kokari mu fito da shi na musamman wani shiri na musamman wanda ko da ma tunda ita ma na san tana da hanya ne kuma da ɗan mutane da na sani mun samu ko da alternative fund ne ba lallai su da gwamnati saboda wani abu mutane suna ganin kamar gwamnati tana da yin komai amma ba haka bane ba su za mu iya neman ko da wata hanyoyi ne na da za mu samu domin yin ba
akwai tambayar Halima
yau wannan tambayar ma a kan me yasa ake ganin wannan waɗannan ɗan ta'addan ai daidai wani kirkitaccen wani ne kuma one man sent another man's big devil. So wani lokaci su da jalali da ya yi wannan magana cewa su a wurin su ga waɗannan mutanen ɗan kwatar yanci ne don haka misali don baki misali you know that kusan dukkanin matan dole wasu dattawan fulani ne suka ba su kamar irin sarakin nan suka hada su da ya kawai suna ganin cewa suna ma son su haɗa jini da shi to haka yawanci waɗannan da yawan su mutanen suna ganin cewa su ne masu ƙatar musu yanci a hannun zaluncin da ake yi musu so daidai wani ne kan kuma kamar yadda a shi a ɓangare ya yi tun daga shekaru 50 da suka wuce wannan al'adar da matan na awon ne sarkin musulmi shi ke nan sarkin barayi ta ce ake ta riga ta zama al'ada ta zama cikin al'umma saboda haka sarkin musulmi zai kira jarumin da ya fi jarumai na safar a zo a yi nadi a ya fara wa fadar sarki shi kuma ya je ci wani da hidomi a tsakanin al'umma shi to abu ne wanda ba wani abu ne sabo ba an riga an saba yawancin su ana ganin su a matsayin jarumai ne akan yanayin aikin da suke mu kuma wanda muke waje ina ganin kamar ba jaruman bane saboda haka muke ganin cewa ka da samu ne abubuwan da za a musu da shi ne wannan al'ada ce wanda ta riga ta gina cikin al'umma ne ina jin wannan shi ne a ƙarshe mun gode kwarai matuƙa da mun samu wannan dama muka zo muka yi wannan tattaunawa wanda ni taimakon da ake kwarai matuƙa a cikin wannan zama da ake na wannan waƙoƙi na ƙasa da ƙasa a Kano a madadin masu gudanar da wannan harka muna godiya a kusa da Aziz muna kuma fatar za mu ga wani abu kamar shi ko da ba da gwamnati ba ko da ta hanya ne daban Suleiman kullum tare muke kuma tunanin kullum akan hanya yake za mu ci gaba kuma ba za mu fasa ba mun taɓa yin wannan kamar da aka yi ba kuma ya yi arziki kwarai matuƙa kuma ya taimaka wajen al'umma kuma shi ne tushen wannan da lalacin mu daɗewa haɗuwa amma yau ga mun sake haɗuwa fizikali abu ne da gini mun gode kwarai a samu wannan dama sannan ko abin da ake yi ko a ci gaba da gudanarwa insha Allah za a samu sauki da ƙarshe sauran waɗanda suka samu dama halarta wannan taro da kuma wannan biki muna godiya Allah ya biya kowa da mafi alheri.
Please put your hands together once more. So we are a bit behind schedule, and we're going to move on to another activity I've been waiting patiently. I know I've said I've been waiting for this activity, for a lot of activities actually, but this one in particular is something. So now is the time to hear and interact with our headliner. And you know, I'm going to do a bit of a reverse and this time around introduce the moderator before I talk about our headliner. So we called it a fireside chat, but bear with us, there's no fire. We didn't think it was appropriate to set up a fire and roast ourselves in Kano's heat. But to moderate the chat with the headliner for Kapfest this year, please put your hands together for Richard Ali. He is a lawyer and writer who has published the novel City of Memories and the poetry collection The Anguish and Vigilance of Teens. He is a founding member of the Nairobi-based arts collective and digital publisher Jalada Africa, which he now leads as managing editor. He co-founded the Nigerian publishing house Parisha Publishers Limited and the poetry-only press Konya Shamsuri. He has expertise in internal security issues and preventing and countering violent extremism in the Sahel, and is currently Executive Director of Engaging Borders SRD. He is also the recently dethroned most romantic man in northern Nigeria. Please put your hands together. So I would only be asking us to be on our feet 4 times today. And this is one of those times. So please, can we be on our feet? At least just be clapping as I'm introducing this person. Please join me in welcoming the Kano International Poetry Festival's headliner for this year. When we asked for his bio, he said the shortest, most simplest bio known. So I honor that simplicity with what he wishes. So he is Mr. D.K. Chukwumerije. He's a poet, a performer, and public speaker. He is the CEO of Simple Poetry Limited and Simply Poetry Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so let's enjoy.
So, good morning, everyone. Ina kwana, an tashi lafiya, kun shirya, to ga shi na kawo muku DK Chukwumerije. A dan tafa mishi. Ba haba Kanawa, ‘yan Kaduna sun fiye da wannan aiki. Kaduna people do better than this. Let us all resound. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to moderate this panel with my brother, DK Chukwumerije. But before we get into it, I want to throw something out to the audience. Which of DK's poems have you listened to? Which ones do you like the most? A random sampling. I have a hand there. Yes. Which one? Oh, Unai, is it true? Huh? Okay. Which other poems? The Wall and the Bridge, I heard that. Okay, excellent. So, DK Chukwumerije is a Nigerian author, performance poet, and advocate whose work blends literature, theater, music to explore themes of identity, unity, and social change. He was born on the 11th of July 1979 in Surulere, Lagos, and hails from Umuenochi in Abia State. It's just by the hills, if you know Enugu very well. And he grew up in a home steeped in storytelling and activism, influenced by his father, the late Senator Uche Chukwumerije, and his mother, Grace Nwanyebo Iweka, from the Iweka family of Obosi. His father, the very nearly larger-than-life Uche Chukwumerije, was one of Nigeria's notable socialists and a radical leftist in the 70s. His mother is a natural storyteller and a healthy living advocate who served in the presidency in the Obasanjo and Yar'Adua administrations. DK himself is a law graduate of the University of Abuja and holds a master's in law and development from the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. He has published multiple books, including Orichindere, which won the Association of Nigeria's Prize for Prose Fiction. He's the founder of the Night of the Spoken Word and the creator of the acclaimed stage production Made in Nigeria, which has toured several cities to critical acclaim. Through his performances, such as the widely celebrated The Wall and the Bridge, DK has become a leading voice in using art to challenge stereotypes, inspire civic responsibility, and promote national unity. Named among the top 100 most influential Africans in 2016, he continues to mentor emerging poets and push the boundaries of performance poetry in Nigeria. His philosophy is rooted in the belief that art is not just entertainment, but a transformative force capable of shaping consciousness and bridging divides, making him a vital figure in Nigeria's contemporary cultural landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, DK Chukwumerije. So, DK, inevitably, my first question has to go to origins, the origins of your own writing and your sense of your own distinct literary personality. In my case, it came from growing up to read my father's books, most of which were bought in this city. he would buy these books, read them, and put them in a carton. And that carton became my library when I was growing up. So what was it like for you growing up? What was the story of the origins of your own literary sense?
It's not very different from yours, actually. I also grew up with parents that were very, very literary. So my dad, like yours, used to buy books all the time. The house was covered with books. He collected paintings. I grew up with artists. My mother tells stories. My elder brother is a musician. My elder sister is an artist. So I just grew up in that environment. In fact, one of the earliest tasks I used to do for my dad, I must have been in my early teens. We had moved to Abuja at the time. He would just send me to Lagos and just say, buy books. And he would give me this big duffel bag, and I'll go around all the bookshops in Lagos till the bag was full, and then I'll bring it back to Abuja for him. So I grew up with stories. I was telling my kids the other day, we were having a conversation, and one of them is there's a subject in their school called, I think, international relations or global affairs or something. And I said to her that I'm not doing well by you. That if I was raising you the way my dad raised me, you wouldn't need to be taking this subject in school. Because when I was growing up, 7 o'clock NTA News, my dad would make us listen to it, summarize it, and then he would mark the script. Grammar and all that. So I said, if we were doing this in this house, you don't need to be taking this subject because you know all these things just by listening to the news. He was a journalist, obviously, so I think anybody from that background, the place is littered with books and literature.
Thank you very much. So my second point, because we're in Kano, and I don't know whether I'm going to have an opportunity for this. I'm a bit keen to know a little bit more about your life. As I mentioned, was anybody here born in 1979? 1979, anybody? Older than that? Look at you. Okay. So you were born at the very tail end of the 70s, right? Which gives you an immense breadth of the Nigerian experience. You basically turned a decade older just before the decade turns. So could you put us through your paces, through the decades as you've seen them, looking back now with the eyes of a poet? How was it the 80s when you were young, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s? Let's date you a little bit.
The 80s were a beautiful time. I grew up in a place in Lagos called Shomolu. We lived in a compound, and all the kids would come out and play. And I remember the yellow Danfo buses used to go by the gates of our compound, and the gates were always open. And it gives you a sense of the safety and the communal nature of things at that time. The 90s for me were obviously secondary school and university days. I went to secondary school in Lagos. I went to university in Abuja, University of Abuja, when it was still a glorified secondary school, as they used to call it in those days. And it was also a beautiful time. The school used to be located in a place in Abuja called Gogolada. And when you come out to the express road, I think I was talking to Suleiman and I was telling him that we'll just jump into a bus. You go to Kaduna to the left, to the right, you're going to Lokoja, you're going to Lagos. There was no sense of danger. I grew up in Lagos. So when I came to Abuja, I've never really been to the north, but I really wanted to explore the north. So how they have it, my classmates knew. I can just show up in your house during holiday. No warning. I'll go to Jos, I'll go to Kaduna, I'll just show up in your place. My best friend lived in Kaduna, and I'd never been to his house. So one day during holiday, I was bored. So I just told my dad I want to go to Kaduna. He said, okay. I went to the bus park, took a taxi, All I knew was that he lived in Barnawa, GR. That was all I knew. I didn't know his address, nothing. I took a taxi to Kaduna. I dropped in Barnawa and I started asking people, do you know a certain Jafar from Southern Kaduna? His father died last year. That's how I found his house. I'm telling you, he wasn't at home. The mother opened the gate, said, who are you? I said, I'm DK, I'm Jafar's friend from school. She said, eh. I said, come in. And that's how I spent 3 days in the house. You know, so it was a beautiful time. The 2000s, there was a lot of hope. Democracy had just come back. I remember the day it was announced that Abacha had passed. It was a very weird day in Abuja. People didn't know what emotion to show because they thought it was a trick. And that if you rejoice, they will note your name down and they will pick you up after. So everybody was just quiet, you know. But after he passed, there was a sense that possibilities were limitless at the time. I went to the UK to do a master's, and honestly, I was so reluctant because Nigeria was bubbling, Nigeria was opening up. So the sense of Japan was the opposite. People were coming back to Nigeria. At that time, people like El Rufai, Soludo were all young, and it was so beautiful to see these young technocrats in government, and everybody had so much hope. You know, so I was one of those that also came back full of hope that we're going to move the country forward. That hope fell to the ground. So the 2010, we sort of started seeing the beginning of frustration, hopelessness. It began to mount. By the mid-2010s, for us in the Southeast, that was the first time it really gave birth to this malignant, virulent, toxic, anti-Nigeria sentiment that took over the airwaves. And it was a very dark time and a very difficult time for people like me. And obviously now we're in the 2020s and we're all experiencing together. Where bread is 2,000 naira, a loaf of bread. And for those of us that have 4 children in school, I shouldn't have gray hair. I really shouldn't have gray hair at this age. But that's what's happening. Economy.
Thank you very much. I asked that question in order to be able to give breadth of your experience to the younger ones here. So let's go to the meat of the matter, right? Into your work. Your poem. I hesitate to say it's perhaps your most favorite work, your most famous work, but The Wall and the Bridge, right? In The Wall and the Bridge, you use the metaphor of physical and emotional structure to speak about Nigeria's divisions. Some of the stuff that Suleiman, Madam Fashi, and Dr. Mariam spoke about, the ethnic differences, religious differences, it has really traveled very, very far. I think you performed it in KwaZulu-Natal, and then, of course, at the Economic Summit Group. I remember the line, before you smile and tell me welcome, you stop to ask where my father is from. And that line really, really remained with me. So my question is this really in line with the theme of the festival. In moments of national crisis, which in Nigeria are so many these days, when these walls, as it were, when they seem to grow taller and higher everywhere you go, it's no longer even my tribe, it's my local, my ethnic group, my clan is better than your clan. All sorts of things go on. How do you see poetry functioning as a bridge that people are willing to cross? What does a poet do when the people themselves seem to insist on walls everywhere? So that's my question.
Richard, I warned you. I begged you. Don't ask me John question. Well, in a nutshell, that's what my entire career has been. Talking against the tide, talking against the mainstream. Like you rightly said, the consciousness of tribe is rooted in Nigerian culture. It's right in our foundation from the way the country was put together, from the way it was formed, the consciousness of tribe was there. And when you are trying to correct something that is that deep rooted, you have to be very, very patient. And you also have to be very, very gentle because people hold these things very dear to their hearts. But what I have found out in my own career is that the human heart, for me, is the solution. I don't try and speak to people's brain. I try and speak to the heart. Because beneath all the hijabs and the wearing and the barbarigas, joy, pain, fear, sorrow, hope, the desire to leave a better world for our children is all the same everywhere you go. And you know that I'm one poet, I don't know if there's any other poet like that that has made the effort to go around the country on my own with this message. So I've been to every part of Nigeria, every geopolitical zone, with the message, not that government sent me or anybody funded me. I got up and I went by myself. And one of the things that gave me hope is that everywhere I went, I found people of like mind. So I know that there is the rhetoric of tribalism, and there's also the reality of humanity everywhere you go. And that it's a question of amplifying those voices. I can tell you for a fact that I have performed the same poem in 21 states in Nigeria, the same set of poems, no different in 21 states in Nigeria. And in every of those states, everybody laughed at the same places, and everybody sighed at the same places. So when people tell me that Nigerians are divided, I know that it's not true. That Nigerians are as same, they have as many things that bind them as divide them. So it gives me a lot of hope to continue to speak. I don't really expect to see results in my lifetime, in all honesty. All I'm doing is sowing seeds. But once you put a seed in the ground, it must grow. Whether it is next year or 50 years from now, once you drop a seed in the human spirit, it must germinate at some point. And I have that thing. So I continue to speak. And obviously, I meet people like you and everybody else sitting in this hall. And you just know that, yes, you may look, different from me. You're wearing your cap, you're wearing your kaftan. But when we talk, there's so much commonality. And I've seen this over and over again in all parts of the country. So I know that there is a lot of hope for us as a more integrated society.
So basically, yeah, it deserves a round of applause. So basically, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You've performed your set of your various poems, but even this one on the wall and the bridge in several places. In these places, have you noticed a shift in the mood of the audience? Some performers speak of that moment when that almost transcendental connection with an audience, where it almost seems like you see the assumptions breaking down. Have you had those sorts of moments? It's the wall and the bridge, or any of your poems? I'd love to hear a bit about that.
I have. I'll tell you a story. One of the earliest times, early in my career, for me anyway, and I was invited to perform at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. At the time, in fact, at the time, poets didn't get those kinds of opportunities. It was unheard go and do your work. So they called me at the height when the music was booming. So I went up, I'll never forget this. I was trembling looking like a nerd, my glasses, my sweater. So I went up on stage and I said, I'm sorry, I can't sing or dance. And you know what these rude children said? Immediately they started booing. Ooh, get off the stage. And that triggered the Nigerian in me. I said, who is this? Who is this? I just removed my phone. I said, you must listen whether you want to or not. I brought out my paper. I wasn't even performing. I just brought out a piece of paper and I started to read. I kid you not. That's how the silence just there. Like a curtain across the room. Pin drop silence. 17-year-old pin drop silence. When I finished, the whole hall erupted. That experience gave me confidence that there is power in the world. Yeah.
That's an amazing recollection. Thank you very much for that. So the theme for Kapfest this year is poetry in a time of crisis. We've talked around this in our previous questions and answers, but it actually goes directly to your own career as a writer. You've written and performed through political upheaval, economic strain, social unrest, So my question really is, how do you do it? How do you sustain your creative voice when the Nigerian environment generally feels really overwhelming and even hostile to truth-telling, the sort of truth-telling that poets naturally inevitably do? The Nigerian environment tends to be hostile to this. So how do you do it? Personally, I often feel very drained, and there are longer and longer periods when no writing at all is done, no engaged. But you have stayed engaged, the Made in Nigeria, So basically, how do you sustain your creative voice amidst all of this, basically?
Honestly, Richard, I am a stubborn person by nature. Quiet people tend to be. You will not see us shouting, but we are very hard to move once we've taken a position. So I'm very stubborn and tenacious by nature. That's one. So that's my nature. Number two, I've lived abroad. I lived in the UK for 4 years. It's not for me. Abroad is not for everybody. It's not for me. I don't have anywhere else to go. I'm here. You understand? I have nowhere else, honestly, no options. So that also drives me, like my back against the wall. Where do you want me to go? Again, this is home. We have to. Number three, I am tired of the discrimination, the way Black people and African people are seen all around the world. I'm tired of being at the bottom of the pile. I'm tired of being the face of poverty and terrorism and oppression. I'm just tired of it. We need to clean up. We need to fix up. We need to move from here. These things are real motivation for me. I'm already sad. My eldest child is 16. And my dad was standing outside. There's no light in the house. And I'm like, this is what I grew up with. Now these children are growing up with the same thing. Like, when do we change this narrative? I thought that by the time I'm having children at this age, Nigeria will be different, but it's still here. And these things, honestly, they motivate me. But more than anything else, I have come to the point in my life where I believe that just do what you can in the space that you are. Not trying to solve all the whole world's problem, but the place where I have influence and the people that I can reach, I will make sure that I am the change that I want to see. And I've become content. So that just keeps me going, regardless of what they're doing.
At the risk of playing the devil's advocate, was there ever a moment when you considered stepping away from it all, from your public role as a poet, as a performer, as a truther? You know, there's always that not moment or Lot's wife moment when you think, I'm going to turn, like, oh, no, okay, I'll jump on, you know, whatever it is. Did you ever have that moment when you're like, maybe when your son is, you know, have you ever had that moment? Or has your hope and resilience, has it been unfaltering, basically?
The closest I came to it was 2015, when Buhari came to power. Because the rise of Buhari coincided with the rise of IPOP in the southeast. You will not understand what it feels like to be an Igbo guy who is pro-Nigerian and who had to live through that time. You know why I put it on that? Because Buhari sort of, everything Nnamdi had been saying, Buhari seemed to be it. So it gave a lot of energy to that ideology. And for those of us that were from that area, it was very difficult. So I remember this day, I posted something on Facebook talking about one Nigerian. I have never experienced the level of insult, hate. It nearly drained my spirit. I couldn't believe it. My father, my ancestors were dragged out. Everybody was calling me. My mom called me, said, please stop talking in public. Friends I had not heard from, secondary school classmates called and said, what's going on? Stop. That was a low moment for me. A really, really low moment. And at that point, I had to ask myself, is it worth it? And I decided for myself that it was worth it. And that I will continue to
Thank you very much. Let's move swiftly to your work in theater, because you're one of the preeminent people who have moved poetry into the realm of theater, with your production, particularly made in Nigeria, which transformed poetry to a very full sensory experience. Theater, poetry, there's music, movement, the stage, lights. I've been at Made in Nigeria, I think, on three different occasions, and it's always a joy. So your foray into theater has made your poetry difficult to ignore. So why was it so important for you to stage poetry this way? And what does performance do that the printed page or the stage cannot do? You know, and then of course, particularly, what were the challenges that you faced in your move towards theater or poetry as theater?
My move into theater was motivated by my desire to communicate with lay audiences. I wanted to go beyond the typical audience for poetry that tends to be poets, literary,
and their friends they can drag, or family they can't help it, they love them, so they come along.
I wanted to go beyond that. I wanted to go into society and poetry. And from experimentation, I realized that you have to make it interesting for people. And that, so I started putting other elements in, and then it built and became what it became. So that was what motivated me, the desire to communicate. The challenges were that nobody knew what it was. It was hard to define it. Is it a play? Is it a song? I always have to explain and just come and see. When they come and see, then they understand it. So defining what I was doing was very difficult. And what performance does that the printer cannot do, right? Is that it look at how it really has performance. I just use dramatic chords, and everybody is listening to, waiting for what I'm going to say next. So that's performance. It's okay, just what you know. So that's what performance does. It makes you listen. It makes you absorb what you're doing. I know this is controversial, but I don't really think poetry is meant for pitch. I don't think that. I think it was an afterthought.
But in traditional societies, it's always the maker, the guy, the griot. It's always basically performing.
Yes, that's spoken, then you write it later. But now the people that write it are behaving like our elder brothers. Our elder brothers.
Yeah. So well, anyway, it's like with Made in Nigeria, you deal with the Nigerian experience over decades. You dance 70s music, the social issues. So, do you think this theatrical approach changes the way audiences engage with difficult things like Nigeria, which is perhaps the most difficult thing anybody can try to do? So, do you feel that this theatrical method, do you think it changes the way people deal with difficult?
Absolutely. My first collection of poems was called The Revolution Has Been Tried. It was a written collection of poems. I self-published it. And for 1 year, I could not sell one copy. 1 year, I couldn't sell. I can give away. I couldn't sell one copy for 1 year. I created Made in Nigeria. Many of the poems that were in that book, I put them on stage. And with that stage production, I toured for 7 years, 21 states. And I was paid, sometimes people would buy tickets. I made millions of naira. So when somebody is telling me, it's not an experiment, it's not theory to me. The poem was in the book, nobody bought it. The poem was on stage, people to listen to it. That tells you all you need to know about performance and printing.
So, Sally Kanawa, who are here, I hope you are taking notes. Now, my background was the person. So, I bring as well with them. Yeah? There's a market for productions, anyway, we'll get to that. So, I'd like to talk about this issue of memory as resistance. History is not just a backdrop in all your work, whether it's made in Nigeria, whether it's the mirror or the wall at the bridge. History is not just a backdrop, it's an active character in all your work. You visit Nigeria's past in order to illuminate the present, insisting that we remember, for example. So how can, so still particular to Made in Nigeria, right? How can poetry preserve cultural memory and prevent the erasure of important narratives during turbulent times, like the times that we have now? How do you address this issue of? Okay, I'll give you an example, particularly from Made in Nigeria. Some of the songs that you danced to in the 70s and 80s, those are songs that my mother grew up. And it's like, oh my God, Christian said it was great. And she says, oh, it was a black this, but it was how we had it back then. And in that performance alone, you remind us of all that. Yeah, so basically, my question is, how does poetry preserve cultural memory and the erasure?
I really and truly believe that as artists, we need to curate our experience, our immediate experience. I'm one of those artists that is fully focused on writing to my society. I'm not writing for the West, I'm not writing to be published abroad, I'm not interested in anything abroad. My audience is my audience. And in fact, I tell people that my greatest, if performing at what are these big spaces, Philharmonic Theatre, all this, I don't know. If I can perform in Sokoto, so when we went to Gombe, we had a hall, almost 1,000 people. I felt more gratified, more fulfilled as a poet to be able to perform in Gombe and they hear and respond than to perform in New York or London and everybody's clapping for me. Because these are my people. These are the people that need to hear what I'm saying. To the other people, I'm just an entertainer. I'm just another poet. But to my people, my words are necessary. So I am truly invested in curating our own experiences, our memory, our culture. And in that show, we're very intentional in using costume from the time, in using music from the time. We have a big visual backdrop, a local artist created, in using images from the time, and using expressions from the time, so that people are transported to the past and they can relive the past. And for people of sort of that generation, late 70s, 80s, even 70s, 80s, a lot of that music that we used was like a time capsule. It took them back. So I really, really believe in, as an artist, being invested in your environment and interrogating your environment. And it shows in my work. And I encourage young artists as well. I know that there is more money or more immediate money and more immediate fame to be made from writing to the West or wherever, whatever international audience suits you. But there is greater meaning and there is the opportunity for immortal relevance in writing to your immediate environment.
Thank you very much. Talking about that, are there historical moments that you feel Nigerians urgently need to remember right now, which are in danger of erasure, for example? And how do you balance the need for historical accuracy in your poetry side by side with the emotional resonance that it tries to capture? So it's more a question about craft.
There are many historical moments that we need to revisit. Some of my favorite ones are one of the most unknown ones, the 1941 Lagos by-election. It was a critical moment in Nigerian history for reasons that I won't get into now. The entire nationalist movement and how it fragmented into three parts. It's something that we really need to explore. The genesis of regional politics in Nigeria are things we need to explore. We need to better interrogate our founding generation. We just say Azikiwe, many of us have never even read them for themselves. They have biographies, they have autobiographies. These personalities need to be better interrogated to understand what their ideals and visions are. Because the nation is built not on the actions of its founders, but on their ideals. It's not what they did that matters, what they were trying to achieve that matters. And we need to understand that. We need to understand better the events of 1966, the two coups, the war. These are things that we have to understand a lot better. When I'm crafting work like this, there is no compromise on accuracy. I rank accuracy above entertainment. Because Nigerians don't know history, so we can't start forging history on stage yet. Let's actually know what happened before we begin to play with it. So I'm currently writing a musical, for instance, on the life of Jojubu. I'm currently doing a musical on his life. And when I'm talking with the producer, sometimes there's a bit of you may want it to be more entertaining. But I'm very big on let it be factual. Because some people are never going to read the story. This is all they're ever going to watch. So let them get the facts straight. So we don't compromise on accuracy for entertainment's sake.
Okay. A round of applause. You say, because I'm a very kind dictator to your side of because I'm a good person like that. Okay, I can already see some hands. So beyond your own performances, you've been invested in mentoring younger poets and creating platforms for them. You spent over a decade at the Abuja Literary Society. And even yesterday, you refused to come with me to see traditional Dembe at New Road because you wanted to be with the spoken word performance yesterday. So Um, so I understand that in a time of crisis, it's vital to nurture new voices. So how does this in and of itself become an act of holding the line, an act of deliberate resistance, which is what this entire thing is about? Then closely related to this is that heavy word that starts to look at us beyond a certain age. The issue of legacy, you start thinking of it pretty heavy problematic stuff, which is what I'm starting to get to deal with. So in all this time of crisis, basically, how has poetry come about holding the line through your work of mentorship, of course, and then this issue of legacy, how do you come to it?
If we don't reproduce ourselves, for me, that's the zenith of success or achievement. You need to reproduce yourself. So I'm very invested at the moment in mentorship and capacity building. It's the most important thing to me. I'm in my mid-40s now, and Nigeria is such a young country that even though I'm young in my mid-40s, but compared to the Nigerian demographic, I'm old. And we need to start investing in them. So it's something I'm very much invested in. Legacy, building up your work. So like you said, I worked with the Abuja Literary Society for almost a decade. And now I'm also building other platforms and trying to bring young people together and build them to be socially conscious artists, not just artists that perform for money and entertainment, but artists that are speaking to the needs of their society and the world and conscious to that fact. So it's something that I take very seriously.
You recently started the DK Chukwumerige Foundation to particularly do this. So I think, Nana, we still have some time, right? 10 minutes? Okay, excellent. So that's about enough time to take a few questions from here. How many questions do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to take 3 questions. He's going to take those ones, and then I'll take the next 3 questions, and we'll wrap up in about 4 minutes per question. Okay? So Zara Danejo, let's have your question.
Thank you, our former king of romantic modern men. I hope you're enjoying retirement.
Salabi.
Also, I would like to announce to everyone that Richard is no longer the most romantic northern man. That title was taken by Kalb Salim at the community performance 2 days ago. Would I know clap? Okay, my question, okay, so lovely to see you as always. I always wanted to ask you this question, but I'm always too shy to ask. Until today, I got the courage to ask you, why are you so patriotic? Why do you believe so much in this country that seems to frustrate all of us at every point? I think a lot about all the work that you've done, and like I've known you all these years, and you are consistent in your patriotism. So why are you so patriotic?
It's a lovely question. The lady behind Zara Danejo, and I think Dr. Delana, if I'm not mistaken, will take your question too.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Diki. I've watched one of your performances at Dubai. The title is Nigeria, This Is Who We Are. You spent 14 minutes plus reciting without a paper, without plumbing, without making any mistake. We have a lot of poets here who are trying as much as possible to be doing performance in different places with accuracy like you do. What do you do in this training yourself to be this great when speaking? And also, I want to ask you this question. I know calmness is part of your nature. When you speak in every way you are, people stop everything to listen because of your calmness. Do you think when you're reciting your poetry, you can be fast and people will assimilate what you're saying? Or if you're calm and speaking, no matter what you're saying, people will be more indulged in what you're saying than being as fast as the way some other people are doing it? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Daladi from Mumbai. I would like to appreciate you, sir, for this insightful session.
I actually got a quote that there is the rhetoric of tribalism in Nigeria, but then there is also the reality of humanity. And especially someone coming from God, I appreciate you for your talk. Although I was absent, actually studying at Bayero University, but a lot of our literary community attended and appreciated what you did. So my question is, in your own opinion, what is the position of arts in national development, especially with respect to Nigeria? You know, when we talk about national development, whatever is not economically productive, for instance, or relatively less economically productive as manufacturing and other sectors of the economy tend to be overlooked. So what is the position of arts in our national development? Thank you.
My sister, one.
Sorry, please, before, please,
Okay.
those who are at the back, you can come in and join us, or please, you can move out. Please, come in, sit and join us, or move out. I know the rain has forced you to be here, but you really don't have to. Please.
The answer is I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's just in my heart. I'm being myself. So I don't know. But I ask myself that question too. Like why? I just don't know. I love my country. I love it. I grew and I grew up mixed. You know, I'm an Igbo guy. I was born in Lagos. I schooled in Abuja. My first girlfriend was from Gombe State. I can't believe I said it on camera. I'm sorry. So my heart is everywhere, so I can't help myself. I really can't. Yes, I think memorization. The baseline is repetition. Somebody said it on the panel here. Repeat. Whatever one you have to do, rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. There are other memorization techniques, but repetition is the baseline. So I also use visualization. I visualize. I also use structure. There's something I call structure. If I were doing a class, I'll break it down. So there are other memorization techniques that I use, but the baseline is rehearsal. I say rehearse. If the person said 200 times, but for me, at least 21 times from start to finish without mistake. If you make a mistake, cancel, start again. Do it at least 21 times without error. I also think that being calm helps to pass your message across. If you're doing a slam, it's different. But if you're talking to an audience, people, I don't know if anybody remembers that exchange between Professor Ojega and yeah, you can see what calmness does. You know, it was a demonstration in the power of just being calm, right? And I really believe in it. So calmness helps communication a lot. Then the role of art in nation building, I believe that art can help us to discover our shared humanity. Because the fastest way to live somebody else's life is to read their story. So if we are reading each other's stories, in the classes I do on empathy, I always give the example of Born on a Tuesday by Elvis and John that really humanize our imagery and help a lot of us out see. You don't have to give a lecture, just put us in the shoes of a character and you build a bridge. And unfortunately, every other country that developed understands the power of art, and that's why they invest in it. And the day we have a government that is truly a nation, the day we have a government that is truly interested in nation building, they will invest in the art. That day hasn't yet come, but it will come.
Move to this side. Brown. Then Suleiman, this man is if you had your okay, done okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Besides Suleiman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dike. I am Abdurabi. I have two important questions to ask. First, we performed on different stages in Nigeria generally. The first time I watched your performance, I felt that that's the actual meaning of unity because of the resonance of the performance, the word and everything.
But there is the issue of language. I know in some of the places you went, some were not able to understand the language that you are able to use. How do you deal with the issue of language, especially to the audiences that are not able to understand the English language or the pidgin? That's number one. Number two is about performance. I'm sure you have been watching the development of spoken word poetry in Nigeria generally. But when it comes to the north, I think there's this paucity of enough gadgets and materials to perform it like professionally, like what you're doing in the theater at the moment. I think there's the absence of this. How do you think the budding spoken word artists, can do, for example, to have access to this theater materials? Thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, my name is Hussein Muhammad Koklani. Thank you so much for your educative, intellectual, and electric panel section. It's really enjoyable. Let me quickly go to my questions. As how you grew up in the environment where reading culture was championed, encouraged, to my utter dismay, reading culture has sunken into
DJ, somewhere you say I quote, if you cannot buy land unless you are a native and cannot find work unless you are a native, how can we then see primitive and not primitive? And you concluded no culture is older than being human. That is your passion. I'm just quoting from a poem where you for national unity. But don't you think most of this your advocacy are more utopian than pragmatic? Some people say that the issue of giving indigenous certificates and all that provides a certain sense of belonging to minority ethnic groups in a lot of states, whereby others can easily dominate them if such indigenship and this argument is not there. So, what I'm saying is that, do you think your advocacy can really be looking at our reality? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for this presentation. My concern is you have already everything has been taken care of. The only thing lined up is over integration of poetry and theater arts. In the 60s, during September and 70s, that's what they did. They used to do a lot of programs in national televisions and radio programs. And it's the impact on the grown-up students on what we have been talking about. What is it? The patriotism. So my call and prayer to points the region culture that people are talking about is going to go drop down like that because nowadays we don't have that time. But the emotion, the last the one I have been reading the poetry of the Cuba, but that theater act, that demonstration made it impact to me than reading. So, and again, we don't have tribalism in Nigeria. So we are already integrated. So my concern is keep on what you are doing, and Nigeria is a good country, and the Nigerian system has already given us the ground for doing all these activities. That's why we see us doing Kano International Poetry Festival without seeing police and seeing concern. So Nigeria is a good country, and it's
The onus is on all of us to integrate theater arts and poetry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Namse, you get the final bite of the cookie as well. Namse, yeah. Okay, and I think I can see Habiba Marufa. You know, it's not Namse. That's the last question.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation. Straight to the point. Talking about poetry, arts, and a change of mentality away from tribal. I don't like the word tribalism. It has very colonial connotations. But I'm asking, how can we, number one, disrupt thinking patterns, because most of the things that we complain about is because of a pervasive thinking pattern. And that is why when we have any new president or governor or the rest, it's the same thing, because we have been programmed to think the same way. How can we use us to disrupt these thinkings that have been put in our minds by a colonial educational system? Then how can we deconstruct language? Because language is a very powerful tool in peace building and education. So how do we construct language around what to understand as development, what to understand as creation group, and then finally, how can we decolonize our learning systems so that we are not trying to be like the West. We are not trying to be Western, we are trying to be who we are, and we are developing according to our own authentic, self-brought up values, not trying to be like Americans or the British.
Thank you very much. So, okay, take all this.
Okay, the question, the first question on language. I can't do everything. I can't speak to everybody because I don't have the gift of languages. So I'm hoping that the people that I have been able to reach will then reach the people that they can reach. It's a tag team. So even though I can't speak all the local languages in Nigeria, my message has reached some people, and I'm hoping that it will influence them to be able to speak into their own demographic. But your language is very important. And every time I come into town and I'm driving through markets, wherever I am, I always think to myself, all these things you're saying until they reach this place, it won't. So somehow it has to touch ground, but it may not be me and is able to carry the message in there. On the issue of theater, spaces, equipment, and everything, I like to advise people to start with what they have. Because that was also how in Abuja we don't have a theater. Abuja is the capital city of Nigeria. But Abuja has no theater. So we had to make do with the spaces we could find, whatever equipment we can find. We don't have standard equipment. But please do what you can with what you have. How can we revive the reading culture? That's what we're doing. We have to make reading appealing to young people. And sometimes that means changing how we represent it. We can't just do it like the old school way. We may have to introduce some music, we may have to introduce some drama, things that make them laugh so that they can accept reading. I currently have two sons, 9 and 5, and they don't like to read. So I say I'm a poet. People cannot say you don't like to read. They prefer to watch TV. So I'm trying to find a way to make reading better for them. So it's the same challenge, but if as parents, we all take it seriously and say, I will not raise a child that does not like to read, and find ways to make them understand the importance of reading, and we'll all be contributing to that struggle. Right? Then my brother Alan, who always asks the difficult questions. There's nothing wrong with being utopian. We don't have to get there. We just have to move out of where we are. All right? So they say that aim for the sky, and you may get to the top of the tree, and that's still okay. I always tell people that Nigeria may never become a fully integrated country where any Nigerian can represent every Nigerian. That's a utopian idea. But we can get to a place of each other. That is still progress. That is still improvement.
And on the issue of indigenship, my own take is that then even before Nigeria existed, when in the pre-colonial tracks, is not God did not invent migration. People used to migrate. There are people that are now Kano indigenous that came from somewhere, and traditionally they were integrated. So these are not foreign concepts. We have the walls that we hold up today are very artificial. There is no way you can say that integration can't happen because you're obstructing a natural process. So even if it's for local communities to sit down and decide what it will take for us to accept you as one of us, maybe the constitution should not impose it. Maybe as local communities we should sit down and even if you say you must live amongst us for 25 years, you must speak our language, you must adopt our religion, you must marry us, or you write it down. Let us know that this is what it takes to be integrated in this community. I don't think that is utopian. I think it is very practical. As for announcing, I will not even attempt to answer your question because there's a whole PhD asking me. You are the one that did the PhD. Answer it in your next year research.
So I have one question for you. Okay. Have you seen any of your mentees respond to crisis in ways that surprise or inspire you? And finally, what's that one piece of advice you give a young poet who feels powerless in the face of today's challenges?
We just had a recent example. We just finished building bridges cohort 2, where we trained young creatives on using their arts to tackle the issue of bias and bigotry. And I can see one of our alumni. And one of our alumni went back home and went straight into a crisis in his own home, where the mother was wanted to rent out some rooms in their house, and the tenants there, they're Yoruba, and the tenants that wanted to take the rooms were Hausa, and this is in Lagos, and everybody was telling her not to take in Hausa tenants, that she shouldn't bring in Hausa people here, and he was just coming back from our training, and he thought to himself, what's the point of all this training I just received if I come back and I'm not able to apply it? So he spoke to the mom and said that as long as they are decent people and they are good people, their ethnicity doesn't matter. And in the end, the mom was able to rent the rooms out to them. It looks like a small thing, but these are the little changes we need people to make in their lives. I don't believe in all this big law and policy. If in your everyday life you are discriminating, then it doesn't matter what the president is doing. You are the problem. So it's important that we make these changes ourselves.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It has been my pleasure to present to you detailed.
Let's be on our feet so we get to the stage. Wonderful, wonderful conversation. I think for me, they say there's a saying that when it rains, the doors of heaven open, and perhaps the heavens will accept Mr. D.K. religious prayers of a united Nigeria on this day. We hope so, we pray so, and may it be so. And for me, what I've taken from this is that we should all try to be more patriotic. So thank you once again, sir. We're very grateful. Our headline. So the rain has forced us in, and I'm glad about that. I won't lie. So I think we'll just continue with our activities. When it lessens a bit, we can go out and pray and have lunch. Please, we'll take about 2 performers. So if you register for the open mic and you're here, I have it's Abdurrahman and Mid Africa here. Are ready? Abdurrahman and Mid Africa, are you ready? If not, please, El Mubarak.
Okay, then let's just go straight to our next panel.
All right, thank you. That was awesome teaching. Before you buy me some I know something, but I think when we come to open mic, I will come back to perform it. But this time around, let's begin. Um, as we live, we learn. As we survive, we love. As we love, we burn. Some of us have run from bitter love while others won. It is said love kamar shi ne mai suka that pierces hearts deeply inside the ground. Some love stories, some barka, yet others full of sarka. At first sight, Ace ya harbu, is luminous love, ita ma ta tsargu. It's for only her ya zautu, Jocelyn and Talib ya mutu. So kamar haka ne fa, I feel for you. That the Thomas love been revealed round and round. Sadaf bashin da ya soke ba a zuciya ba, cikin rai ya harbe, take yake jazba ta kwashe, ban ji ban gani sai kin yi tozar da gani. Ni fa na azama ko giya na sha, sai mun karo tun na sha a jikin zuciya rai na ya sha, shi ne na fusko kamar wani shasha. Tataccen san ki nake ji without mix, fuskar ki nake gani in higher mix, duka ban da ta taɓo sai in ta his, ina ta jin tsoron kada in yi miss. Misin mana alaƙaƙiya a bar ya Allah rantsuwa, ko ko na zancen ki cikin nutsuwa, ko ko na fishin ki kalar kyau, balle na murmushin ki a jiya da yau. To me yanzu, when shall we meet? For me to display my love and how you heal my heart's wounds and beats, that my heart experienced my grief. Kin yi nisa sosai a gare ni, ga masoya na ta aure kalle ni, abin tausayi da alheri. Ina ta sarrafa kamar wani majnun. To ki zo mana ko a ƙarshen Fabrairu, ki wubda ni kamar a kistin su Zubairu. Mu zamo bayan juna ɗai da Lubna ko ko mu zama kamar Jamila da Jamilu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elmobara. Then Mustafa, please get ready.
Hello everyone. The title of my poem resonates with the theme of the festival, which is Poetry in a Time of Crisis. And the title of the poem is A Place. Now, from Sokoto to Borno, from Borno to Katsina, down to Kaduna, to the Plateau and Benue, the new slogan is Babu Korafi. But I am here to debunk that slogan. I come from a place where witches of all sorts dwell, governed by a strata of predators, preying on the wicked and frail. I come from a place where reality is expensive and liberty only exists in dreams, where the future is designed to fit those in suits and kaftans living the dreams of their fathers. You see, I come from a place where I am judged by the language I speak,
depriving me of the freedom to live and choking me to death for the echoes of my speech. I come from a place stripped of all liberty for my belief, a place where my being or cause determines the generosity of my host, falling in victory to embrace my faith with open arms. Now listen, I come from a place where the echoes of gunshots are deafening and the soil is drenched in the blood of my kinsmen, a place where peace is but a sinking past. I come from a place where we bargained our sacred ground and seeded the soil with our greed, a place where our trees is but a distant memory. I come from a place where geniuses exist but brains are the least of priorities, a place where mediocre is celebrated and the future is in abeyance long before it's done. Saurara. To live in my world is to embrace being tough, being hard, being rough, mastering your dreams and turning them into reality.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are all in the best of health and iman. My name is Mustafa Misa. And the title of my piece is Tell Me How to Love You. Ya Rasulallah, tell me how to love you. Not like the deed, not like the ones who touched your hands, heard your voice, kissed your feet and bled for your smile. I was born too late. I was born too late. Ya Rasulallah, I read about you, lines, pages, praises, and poetry, but none of it tells me how it must have felt to stand in your presence, to hear your name from your own voice. Ya Rasulallah, why wasn't I born in your time? Why did I came after the dust of your sandals had already settled into history? Ya Rasulallah, I swear by the ink in my chest, if I is more than a servant, the man who slept on your bed while things waited outside, the man who shattered enemy lines at Khaybar with a broken gate in his hands and your name in his life. Ya Rasulallah, if I were there, I would have walked behind you like Ibn Mas'ud, careful with every step, as if the ground beneath your feet was solid, because it was. The man who climbed the tree to plug in his work for you, though his legs were thin, you smiled and said, they were weightier than the horse. And if I were there, I would have trusted you like Abu Bakr Siddiq, even when no one else did. He stood while the rest sat in doubt. He followed you into the cave while the world haunted your light. He feared, not out of himself, but because a snake might bite you. Ya Rasulullah, if I had the courage, I would have died like Hamza, roaring into the battlefield, his chest bare, his heart ablaze. He died with your name in his lips, but arrows in his body, torn but triumphant. And what of Bilal? Dragged on burning stones, Ahad, he cried. One girl refusing to be silent, even when silence made survival. And when you returned to Makkah victorious, you told him to climb the Kaaba and call the Azan love for heart. So I sit here in this world of noise where love is cheap and faith is fragile, and I wonder, tell me, Ya Rasulullah, how do I love you from the first time? How do I send my salam to a grave I've never seen? How do I ache for a man I've never met but miss every day? Ya Habibi, if your name is the key, let it unlock me. And if your sunnah is the path, then drag me by the soul until I walk it. I don't want to love you with my lips. I want to love you with my heart. See, I wasn't there, but I wish I had been.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for performance. So take this. I think the rain is coming to a stop. We just have this panel, then we'll break for lunch and prayers. So for this next panel, we'll talk on the way art can ease our suffering. And let's face it, as people who document the lived realities, especially in this part of the country, it's important to learn the skills to know how we can use art to heal ourselves first and also to heal the world around. I'm sounding like Michael Jackson. Heal the world. So on this panel, I have Fidelsi Abawada. Please put your hands together. She is the voice behind Your Therapist, where she reads stories, poetry, and heartfelt conversations to spark healing and hope. She with us, Fidelsi. Okay, good. A mental health advocate and Toastmaster, she is passionate about using the arts as a bridge to emotional well-being, inspiring northern Nigerian communities to speak, feel, and heal. Put your hands together for Fidelsi. Thank you for joining us. It's like if we're hungry. Don't worry, after this panel, guys, I have clap. Sorry, clap. Thank you. The next on this panel is Aisha Ahmed Ibrahim, who is a special needs educator, counselor, and mental health advocate with over 7 years of teaching experience. She specializes in emotional and behavioral disorders and is committed to inclusive education and psychosocial support for children and youth with disabilities, especially divergent individuals. She's also an artist and calligrapher. Please put your hands together. Thank you for coming. On this panel is also Dr. Shuaib Sani Shuaib. If you are at all, if you met him, please put your hands together for him. He is a foresight strategist and social impact leader, advancing inclusive futures across Africa. With over a decade of experience, he has led 30 projects in health, education, climate action, and youth development, impacting over 120 million people. As founder of Kanu Chronicle and program coordinator at Future Mark Foundation, he integrates foresight, civic engagement, and intergenerational collaboration to drive sustainable change. Thank you for joining us, sir. And to moderate this panel is Gabe, the only person, well, not the only, and Hawatu brought that, but Gabe brought me chocolate all the way from Jos. Everyone else. So I'll introduce him properly. This is how you bribe the host. To moderate this panel is Gabe. Please put your hands together. A visionary mental health therapist and addiction counselor on a mission to empower individuals, especially young people, towards transformative growth and well-being. Drawing from his journey of overcoming substance abuse, Gabriel brings a unique perspective, passion, and depth to his work. As a co-founder and director of Memoirs of Recovery, Morehouse, Gabriel leverages a multidisciplinary approach to deliver comprehensive care and support, integrating psychology, sociology, theology, and mental health. So put your hands together. You'll take us through this panel.
Hi. Good afternoon. You're welcome to this extraordinary panel, ladies and gentlemen, where we are going to be exploring the power of creativity in shaping healing, fostering resilience and social change. And in a world marked by disruption and rapid change, the intersection of art, culture, and human experience offers us a vital insights into the resilience of the human spirit. Poetry gives us voice and allows us to say the unspeakable. Visual arts transcends boundaries of language and perception, and creative expressions becomes potent tool for self-advocacy and social innovation. Our panelists today are leading voices in their fields. Fidelsa Wada, whose poetry narrative work probes the depths of therapeutic expression, Aisha Ahmed Ibrahim, whose art therapy opens doors for individuals with disabilities. And of course, Shari, who explores creativity and leverages, community resilience to foster social change. It's a pleasure to have you all. My name is Gabriel again, and we'll just delve right into it for want of time. So my first question would be to just throw a general one out there. The theme for Kapfest 2025, of course, is poetry in a time of crisis, and it's been tasked with the responsibility of, expounding on, the subject beyond medicine, exploring the arts of healing. So if you were going to speak to that, would you want to extrapolate or bring it to life so that we can all, as a collective, read from the same page? Anyone can go first.
Hello, everyone. As human beings, I believe we are similar than we just believe. And from the experiences of this event, from the first day, from the panels, sessions, to the poetry performances, from the words, book chats, and everything, I think one thing I have deduced is how collectively we believe art, especially poetry, touches us. So I believe when we talk about art, whatever form, it gives people, it thrives in constraints, and it gives voices to the voiceless, and it gives hopes to the hopeless, and it makes people express themselves in ways they are less judged. So when we talk about poetry in terms of crisis, I think it just happens. It's not to say that like it's a formal thing where we have to write as the formal book chat took place, and I think DK was saying poetry is not meant for pages. So like Nana, we had a game this morning where she just prompt words to people and just say like talk, and the words were just coming out. So I think we collectively share that part of art in us, and I think in constraints where we don't have what to hold as weapons, we use that art. It just comes out of us whether we like it or not.
Dr. Sorry, would you want to just build on that? Considering the fact that poetry is an intricate part of humans and that it comes as a natural expression, if you would like to take it up from where she left it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would want to approach the question. The first one is personal level, and then systemic level. So on a personal level, I work as a social innovator, and I find myself studying medicine and then strategic sector. So within all of the things that I've been doing in the past years, I found out that arts, if it's somebody and if like anything. So at the end of the day, we could be able to see that these are things that complement each other. Personally, I recently I recently passed a bachelor of leadership at someone, and for the fact that it was a very hard role that I took. I think one of the things that I was able to deliver the kind of hardship and the kind of struggle that I had in terms of my education is me writing my experience, and I've been doing that for a lot of years. So writing that at the end of the day, even though I wasn't able to publish everything that I wrote, even though I wasn't able to publish everything that I wrote, I have the full article by the side, and then I had the one that I put out there for people to read. I found that idea of sitting down to write it and sharing it with other people very relieving. Second thing is the fact that on a personal level, I think arts give meaning to our identity. That is why if you go to my house, for example, you see that I have a lamp for the fact that I want accessibility for people that are disabled. I have something called the Dadin Ariba because it embodies my identity and a lot of other things in between. And on a systemic level, you will be able to see that with the hardship that I just narrated that I went through on my past daily work, instead of resorting to, let's say, taking very because of too much and yeah.
Leveraging the power of collective expression and cohesion inherent in art, right? Fidelsi, I'd like to just that you respond to that alongside with this question directed at you. Gleaning from your experience and the work that you do, um, how does the power of poetry in Nigeria, within your own sphere, okay, serve as a counter narrative in trauma healing, and affords individuals the ability to reclaim their stories and grant them agency? So you can touch on that and then just flow right into this.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Fidelsa Apawele. And based on what Mr. Gabriel said, I always think poetry is the language you get to speak from your heart. It's like when you're grieving, when you're going through trauma, and you lose that security, you lose your sanity. So the things are not allowed to be voiced out. It's not a standing rule, but there are topics we are not allowed to discuss. There are things you can't just come out and say, I am going through this. Some things you have to bottle them in. So poetry, it's like an avenue where you get to express yourself. And I don't know if you know people, people that knows you will so it quickly know, okay, she's writing her story or she's going through this. Then you use poetry instead. So poetry has been a great deal of help to people going through trauma. And especially us. You know, I'm not a certified therapist. I'm an advocate. So I do a lot of these things informally. It started with myself. There's this way you lose yourself on paper or behind your keyboard when you're expressing yourself. It gives you that avenue. No one is going to judge you. Someone out there might not even know it's your story. You might be crying and typing that poem or story, and people will just be applauding you. Oh, she writes so well. She talks so well. Meanwhile, it's your pain flowing. And then you find comfort in that. So I believe poetry plays a vital role in the therapist world. It plays a great role.
Thank you for being vulnerable, by the way. Thanks for sharing yourself with us. Aisha, talking about inclusion and safe spaces, how does art therapy really provide a form of expression for people living with disability? And how can that help them deal with the dual trauma of being both uh, disabled, I think socially, physically challenged rather, and then also having to cope with the stigma of having that bodily deformity.
When it comes to people with disabilities, we all have discrimination, stigma, and exclusion, which we are trying very hard to to eradicate, but with our cultures and traditions, and from where we come in Nigeria, we know these things are hard because we have more conservative people living around us than informed ones. Even some informed ones still hold conservative ideas in them. So like that. Sorry, I want to give a personal story. I wasn't. I didn't even know about special education when I finished secondary school. Like it was accidental. You know, many of us accidentally read courses that we didn't even know about. So I was a science student, but fate made me go into special needs education with the hope that I was changing course after the first year. But I developed interest because I've always been a nurturer and I wanted to be in a helping profession. So when children or adults are presented to you as clients with special needs, it's not only them that that disability affects, even their families. So you see the burden when they come at first. You see the burden, you see how they struggle, how they are struggling to fit into the society. How, because many schools, irrespective of us having this inclusion under national policy of education, but still many schools like directly tell you, I'm not going to include your child in my school because we cannot handle him or her, without even getting to know or understand how that person functions. Because most of them, as I've come to understand, are talented in one way or the other. Because it's different to be gifted or intellectual in the academic sense, and then to have a talent that one can nurture to make someone become successful in the society. So it's through art, usually, that I notice these things. In the center I manage for people with disabilities, when they come and they can't write or read, I just ask the people we work with, please just allow them to be themselves, allow them to be free, put colors, give them pens, let them scribble what they want, let them draw what they want, let them put colors out there, because most of them that are neurodivergent see the world in shapes and colors, and they express themselves through those words and colors. Because a non-verbal child now can draw something, and then it's after them drawing that maybe you learn something about them through that artistic expression. Recently,
so you're speaking of art as not just a form of therapy, but also a tool for psychotherapy.
Yes, for psychotherapy.
I'm curious though. I just want to probe something you mentioned. When you give them this avenue for artistic expression, is there a way you can tell that the person who produced that work of art or did whatever, produced whatever the outcome? Is there a way you can tell that this work was done by someone who is physically challenged?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Because, for example, imagine a child that's autistic or having autism and ADHD at the same time, non-verbal, doesn't like communicating with others, but then can sing like in an unbelievable way. They don't talk. But when it comes to singing, or in our parts, like sometimes since we're Muslims, if it's a Muslim child reciting the Quran in like in an interesting way.
So, if correct me if I'm wrong, but if I hear what you're saying, to an untrained eye, is not readily noticeable that this person has some form of disability because they find their natural expression short.
Yes.
Okay. So art becomes like a bridge rather.
Yeah.
Rather.
Yes.
Thanks for that. Dr. Shari.
already started to touch on it. I'd like for you to take a little deeper into the notion of art as a tool for innovation and social change. I know you were giving a personal example earlier. I'd like for you to dwell on that and maybe take us a little deeper.
To discuss more extensively on that, I would want to paint a scenario for us. So if a person comes to the hospital, let's say with a problem that would warrant him to say, let's say he wants to see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a sociologist. And at the end of the day, he haven't seen all of them, and maybe the psychiatrist decided to prescribe a medication for him. You could see that the medication is just addressing symptoms of the problem that he's having. But then at the end of the day, it was being established that through art, you can be able to solve a lot of this problem. And it's not just addressing the symptoms, you're also trying to restore the identity of the person. Clinically, you're just giving him, let's say, antipsychotics and then trying to relieve some of the symptoms that are presented with. But then ensuring that there's an artistic touch to the kind of intervention that you're going to give the person and will end up restoring the identity that he has lost. A very good example is now that we are battling with issue of banditry, you could be able to see a child that grew up in a community where, let's say, his dad is a soldier or community watch, and he ended up being killed. Maybe his sister has been abducted once, and then his neighbors have reported different instances of this kind. So you could see that this is a community where you can go around and asking everyone to go and see a psychiatrist, a sociologist, and stuff like that. So you need to create something that's going to be able to address that. So I'm going to close this by saying, instead of making art an afterthought, I think we need to find a way to make something that is systemic, because just like how trauma is contagious, resilience is contagious. So I think we need to find a way to balance it. Thank you.
So trauma is contagious, resilience is as contagious as well. And as art can be a portal into tapping into this, right? All right. So this is something I'd like for all of you to respond to. How do you think that arts can contribute to building bridges between the diverse cultures, ethnicities called Nigeria? And what are the implications art holds for social cohesion? Dr. Shoaib, you could start since you're with the mic and then we can walk our way down.
So identity is a very complex topic for us to discuss, as identity is very fluid. And I'm going to give us a very good example. A very good example is, let's say, Jigawa State. The idea that a lot of people had was the fact that people in Jigawa are 85-90% Hausas. But at the end of the day, historically and genetically and anthropologically, it has been found out that a lot of people that do identify under the umbrella of a certain ethnicity are not actually, if you're going to go to the root of things, from that ethnicity. So you could see that this is something very huge, and this is something that someone could decide to say is defining himself to be under the umbrella of a certain identity. So I think to foster unity and be able to promote and see how we could be able to unify all the differences that we had. Something that might be from a certain ethnicity and I'll end up being hurt by a person from another ethnicity. But I might decide to be peaceful, not to react. But that doesn't mean I'm. So at the end of the day, we need to know that there's liberation and then there's peace. I might decide to be peaceful not because I'm liberated. And I think we need to find a balance on seeing how we relate with each other with regards to a lot of sensitivities that many of the different ethnicities hold. And there's also a very big issue of stereotype. A lot of people are having a certain notion about a certain person because he came from a certain ethnic group also. So I think we need to be able to address all of those things. Thank you.
Thanks for that insight. So, if I heard you correctly, peace is actually not possible without justice.
Yeah.
That's what you try to capture when you refer to reparations. Thank you. All right, moving on. Can you share with us a pivotal moment in your work where poetry acted as a catalyst for resilience, like from a personal experience? I know that that's basically your turf. If you can share a moment where you felt like it was all worth it.
Can you rephrase the question?
Okay, can you share with us, right, a moment where you had like a mind shift or a trajectory defining moment for you in the line of your work where you saw poetry as a tool or a catalyst for resilience?
Yes, I think it's all I've done and I've been doing. I'll share this personal story with you all. You know, I told you I'm not a certified therapist. I say this a lot because some people, when they reach out to me, they even say, Dr. Fidelsi. I have to explain, okay, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a therapist by accident. So my journey started from myself. I went through postpartum depression after the birth of my second baby. You know, it's so confusing. Like you have this bundle of joy at the same time you love her, and at the same time you want someone to come and take her away. It's so confusing. These are things you can't even say. You can't tell your parents. Maybe if I told my mom, she would have suggested a prayer session for me. I'm sure prayer sessions are good. But then sometimes these things are so confusing. Just like how you woke up and boom, you're an adult. So these things happens. I was so confused. I didn't even know how to react. I think at some point we were having crying competition between I and the baby. I didn't know who to face. I prayed. I tried to cheer myself up. My husband was there, and my first baby was bearing the impact. So I discovered this therapy while scrolling on Instagram. And I think I can proudly say I am self-made. It is self-taught. Because I'm always on the realistic side of things, I went back to social media. I have a decent number of followers. So whenever I pick up my phone, especially when I'm crying, I just punch at my keyboard. I don't even wait to edit. Like I pour everything out. So I realized a lot of people, especially women like me, connected deeply with me. So that was where I think the breakthrough started for me. People reach out, some will be crying, Auntie Fidelsi, please can you do this? Because I don't write these stories in form of, okay, I'm depressed, I need help. I usually rephrase them. Sometimes I say it's not me, it's someone. Sometimes I write it in the form of story, like someone is going through it. And then these ladies thought I knew everything, I knew it all. So naturally, they'll reach out and I'll counsel them. Sometimes while I'm crying, I'll say, do this, do this, do this. Then they'll call me with positive reviews. Oh, thank you, my life has changed. But my own life has not changed. And that was the irony of it. You'll be crying, you type, and you encourage people to do better. I told a lot of ladies, I can't keep count. I told them to go out, have fun, embrace change and all. But it's all English we speak. Every therapist you go to, they tell you that face your fears. How can I face my fear when the baby is always crying and I'm always crying? Like it doesn't make sense. So at some point I had to help too. That was when I realized you can't do it on alone. Forget all the English therapists tell you. Sometimes it's true you need their help. And the only problem I realized a lot of people are facing too in the therapy world is the exorbitant prices. I'm not calling anyone out for charging people because the person has to eat. So I decided, okay, let me just make it, because at first I wanted to make it a posh office. I'll have people come in for consultation, let's say 50K for 30 minutes. Then I realized I can't even face these people. I'm hiding behind my keyboard. They always call me on phone, and most times we end up crying together. I think there's one or two people that I had to tell to please come and meet me so we can go out. We had fun, and that reassuring hug. Thank you, Auntie Fidelsi, you've changed my life. So I think I healed through these people.
So I was waiting for you to come to this point actually. Would you say that in pointing the or in shining the light for others, you ended up shining it for yourself as well?
Yes, because when I write, they read, and they always ask for more. So I kept writing for them.
Okay.
And that was it.
Very, very vulnerable, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. Finally, I'd like to just ask you one quick question. Considering that you have, you don't only do this, you do this from a very deep place, like it resonates deeply. How do you practice self-care? And maybe someone might learn from that from our audience. How do you look out for yourself?
Should I speak English, or I should just tell you the truth? The truth is, it's not been easy. When I think I have healed, I have passed through this, then you call me with your problem, and I end up crying harder than you. So my husband will always say, I'm tired of this. Don't pick anyone's call again. You are not going to do this again. And I'll write, I promise not to consult with anyone again. Next time, another call is coming through. So I think I keep falling back. But I think it's just humanity being at work. So I cry with people and I rejoice with people. But it's not coming from that hurt. It's just like, okay, I know what you're going through, I can relate, and I'm with you always.
So empathy, right? Thank you so much. Aisha, I'd like for you to help us. This is a very, very lonely role, especially considering the clients. There are lots of cultural barriers, especially for women, right? What do you tap into to keep pushing through, these hurdles and work in this very, very difficult space that you work in? Considering the fact that you literally work in the shadows, this is not one thing that we're very, very aware of. What inspires you to keep doing this?
I think what keeps me going is when I see my clients, and people around me, the parents mostly. Like when someone tells you, Aisha, I feel so lucky to meet you. You've made my life easier. You can actually see the relief. You can actually see the burden taken off their shoulders. That's when you realize that, oh, what I'm doing really matters. I think that's what keeps me going, because it reaches a point where you too will be so full. You'll be so full to the brim that you think maybe I should step back a bit. But then one person will just come and like change the perspective for you. They feel at ease, they feel they're in a safe space, because that's what like that's what I want for the world, for everyone to be themselves without judgment, to feel that they're in a safe space. And me being a woman coming from northern Nigeria, a Muslim home, and our society looking at women in some looking at women, especially women that are my tribe, unmarried, doing what they do, going out there, being exposed. I really think I had an anchor from home, because my dad always stood by women's rights under our religion, because you can't come and tell me that I'm doing something wrong under Islam. I've learned this Islam, because I always tell people, if you are religious, do what it takes to be religious. You can't just say I'm a Muslim or I'm Christian and then you're choosing what to do under that religion, under an umbrella of religion. I am always learning. I'm still learning, and my dad made that possible for us, and I'm always grateful that he stood by women's rights under Sharia. And I know we have been born with conscience, and anything that doesn't go against my conscience, I think I'm doing right. So that is what has been keeping me going, faith and spirituality.
Well, I thought I was going to get a round of applause for the men. I mean, the role of strong dads and how it's really very important in ensuring that kids grow with self-awareness and can stick to their convictions. For want of time, I really wanted to just focus on our panelists, but I'll be generous and take just two questions from the audience. So I'll take the first hand I see and the second one. Just two questions, very, very straight to the point, and then we'll come back to our distinguished panelists and wrap this up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a proud member of Daddy's Girls, so I'm so proud to see Daddy's Girls up on the stage. Mine is not really a question, it's more of a comment because I'm Nigerian. I must say something. I just want to ask Fidelsi, do you think that you need like formal training? Doesn't you feel you're also putting yourself, sort of your own mental health at risk when you're constantly dealing with the burdens of others and you do not have the professional skills to kind of cope with that?
That's a great question. We'll take the second. I'm sorry, just two questions. I'm sorry, I cannot accommodate all of that.
My name is Ibrahim Ahmed Manabi, and my question is, do you think in the long run, can poetry replace professional therapy? And if yes, how could you address the conflict between professionality and the poetry? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll respond to that, and then anyone can take a stab at the second question.
Hello, I've been admiring your outfit actually. Thank you for the question. Yes, I have stepped back. It's been months. I've not been doing this. I've just been doing it to family and friends. I am almost certified now. So maybe by the time I get certified, I'll be much stronger this year. Thank you.
Mr. Fred, do you want to address the second question?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I'm on this panel is because I'm here under the umbrella of on-site strategies. And I think the question that he asks is something that has to do with the future. Yeah, so for future statements, there's something called provocation. And I think your question is a very strong provocation. And instead of saying, can art replace poetry, you could reframe it to be even a stronger provocation as, what if art replace what if art replace therapy in the future? And I think for that one you could look at it from a lot of angles, but then I'm going to focus on two leverage points. The first one, for the fact that when you are talking about futures, you would have to look at it from a possible angle, a plausible one, and then a possible one. And then you need to identify something called weak signal, something at the fringe of an event that is unfolding and how it's becoming mainstream and how people are adopting it. A very good example is when one of the poets was performing, the person that was performing and speaking about insecurity, I literally had goosebumps. And the reason being that I'm relating to what he's saying. And I know in the northern part of this country, poets have been part of the northern culture. But then I think at this juncture, you could see that the new breed of poets that we are having are mostly speaking directly to the issues that are bedeviling the northern societies. So I think that's something that we could explore and sit down and see why are we having a lot of people going into this field and why are they speaking about this, and we could do a small podcasting to see if they continue like this, would it reach to what you just asked as a question. So that is why the word statement is better than saying. So that's the answer to the question. Thank you.
Smartly articulated. I'm afraid this is the much we can take. We've been exploring the potency of art for healing as a tool to foster resilience, a tool for social cohesion, and how art, and especially poetry, is part and parcel of our indigenous cultures and forms of expression. And we've had this three very intelligent people on the panel to probe this subject matter. For want of time, we couldn't really go further than this. But I would encourage that you take these conversations beyond this hall and onto social media platforms. You can leverage the hashtag Kapfest 2025, right? And these discussions can be ongoing. I've had fun, and I wish I could have, picked your brains a little longer, but this is the much we can take. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. I also want for the analysts and okay, thank you for this wonderful panel and for the chapter. So we are going to go for a break, but please, there are a few things you should know. The women can pray when you leave yesterday. For the men, there's an area set up just opposite the hall where you can pray. Also, we have the poetry dispensary. Please go and tell them what is ailing your soul so that you can listen to a poem. It will cure you, truly. Then, we should reconvene. Please come back by 2:30. I'm not asking my elders, please help me bring people back to the hall. So I'll see you at 2:30. Please come back. And lunch is also where it was yesterday. So please grab lunch, pray, freshen up, take a walk, come back. We have 2 panels, a book chat, and then we go into poetry and music night. So see you soon. Thank you.
What therapy are you doing? What therapy? Just Where's the lady that was with you? Community.